I never thought a broken deck would lead me to a broken woman, or that fixing one might help heal the other. Noah Carter stood in the doorway of his best friend's house, toolbox in hand, expecting a quiet weekend of sawdust and silence. What he found instead was Vivian Hale, brilliant, untouchable, and completely shattered. She was supposed to be in Monaco or Manhattan, not sitting on a weathered porch step with mascara-stained cheeks and bare feet. Their eyes met. Something shifted, and in that moment, Noah realized this weekend would change everything. Stay with me until the end of this story. Hit that like button and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this journey travels. The autumn air carried the scent of wet leaves and dying summer as Noah Carter's pickup truck rumbled down the tree-lined driveway of the Hale family estate. October had settled over Connecticut with its usual dramatic flair, amber light filtering through half-bare branches, the kind of golden hour that made everything look like a memory even as it was happening. Noah killed the engine and sat for a moment, staring at the house through the windshield. It wasn't a mansion exactly, but it was close enough. The kind of place that had been in a family for generations, all stone and ivy and old money charm. He'd been here dozens of times over the years, for barbecues, football watch parties, that one disastrous New Year's Eve when Marcus had convinced everyone to go ice fishing at 2 in the morning. Marcus Hale had been Noah's best friend since they'd met in a woodshop class junior year of high school. Back then, Marcus had been the rich kid slumming it in vocational electives, and Noah had been the scholarship student who actually needed to learn a trade. Somehow, over 15 years of friendship, none of that had ever mattered. Just a weekend, Noah muttered to himself, grabbing his duffel bag from the passenger seat. Fix the deck, drink some beer, go home Sunday night. His phone buzzed, a text from his mother. Jamie's helping me make cookies. We're fine. Stop worrying. Noah smiled. His son, 5 years old, gap-toothed, obsessed with dinosaurs and construction vehicles, was spending the weekend with his parents. It was rare that Noah had a full 48 hours to himself. Since Emma had died 3 years ago, leaving him a widower at 29 with a toddler to raise alone, he'd structured his entire existence around being present for Jamie. The carpentry business he'd built from scratch was deliberately small, deliberately local, deliberately manageable for a single father. He turned down jobs that required overnight trips. He scheduled estimates around kindergarten pickup times. He'd become an expert at building a life within carefully constructed boundaries. This weekend was Marcus's idea. Come help me rebuild the back deck, he'd said over beers 2 weeks ago. Dad finally admitted it's a death trap. I'll pay you, obviously, but mostly I just want the company. We haven't had a guy's weekend in forever. Noah had hesitated. He always hesitated. But his mother had overheard and immediately volunteered for Jamie duty. You need to do something for yourself once in a while, she'd said in that tone that meant the decision was already made. So here he was. Noah climbed out of the truck, slinging his bag over his shoulder. The house looked quiet. Marcus's car was in the driveway along with a sleek black Tesla that definitely didn't belong to his friend. Noah frowned. Marcus hadn't mentioned anyone else being here. The front door was unlocked. Marcus, Noah called out, stepping into the foyer. No answer. He moved through the first floor, past the formal living room that nobody ever used, through the kitchen with its restaurant-grade appliances and granite islands. Everything was pristine, untouched, like a photo in a design magazine. Then he heard it, a sound coming from the back of the house. Not quite crying, but close. A shaky exhale. A muffled sob quickly suppressed. Noah's protective instincts kicked in immediately. He set down his bag and moved quietly toward the back door, which stood half open to the cool October air. And that's when he saw her. Vivian Hale sat on the top step of the deck, her back to the house, shoulders hunched forward. She wore an oversized gray sweater and black leggings, her dark hair pulled into a messy knot at the base of her neck. Her feet were bare despite the chill in the air. Noah froze. He knew who she was, of course. Marcus's older sister. The brilliant one. The successful one. The one who'd graduated top of her class from Wharton, built a tech company from the ground up, and sold it for an ungodly sum before she turned 28. The one who'd married Bradley Whitmore III. Old money, old family, old everything, in a wedding that had made the society pages. Noah had met her exactly 4 times over the years. She was always polished, always poised, always somewhere between courteous and distant. She remembered his name and asked polite questions about his work, but there was always a wall there, a subtle reminder that they existed in different stratospheres. He'd last seen her at Marcus's birthday party 2 years ago. She'd arrived late, stayed an hour, and left early, her husband on her arm, both of them glowing with the kind of success that made normal people feel slightly inadequate just by proximity. And now here she was, sitting on a rotting deck in bare feet, crying. Noah cleared his throat softly. "Vivian?" She jerked upright, spinning around. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her face blotchy. For a split second, he saw pure vulnerability flash across her features before she tried to compose herself, swiping at her cheeks with the back of her hand. "Noah!" Her voice came out rough, surprised. I didn't know you were coming." Marcus asked me to help with the deck. He gestured vaguely at the weathered boards beneath her feet. "I can come back another time if—" "No." She stood quickly, wrapping her arms around herself. "No, it's fine. I'm the one who shouldn't be here. She trailed off, looking lost. An awkward silence stretched between them. Noah had built his entire adult life on reading situations and responding appropriately. You didn't successfully run a small business without learning how to navigate discomfort. But this felt different. This felt like stumbling onto something private and painful. "Is Marcus here?" he asked gently. "He ran to the store. Something about needing more beer and the right kind of screws for the deck." She attempted a smile. It didn't reach her eyes. "He should be back soon." "Okay," Noah nodded. Then, because he couldn't help himself, because that was how he was wired. "Are you all right?" Vivian's composure cracked, just slightly, just for a moment. Her jaw tightened, her eyes went bright with unshed tears, and she looked away quickly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm fine. I just needed somewhere to go for a few days, and Marcus said I could stay here while he worked on the house. I didn't realize he'd invited anyone else. I should probably go upstairs." "You don't have to do that," Noah said quietly. She looked at him then, really looked at him, and something passed between them. Recognition, maybe, or just the simple acknowledgement of shared human awkwardness. "I'm getting divorced," Vivian said suddenly, the words tumbling out like a confession. "It's not final yet, but it's happening. The lawyers are circling, the prenup is being dissected, and Bradley is—" She stopped, took a breath. "Sorry, you don't need to hear this." "I don't mind," Noah said, and he meant it. Vivian studied him for a long moment. Then she laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You know what's funny? I spent the last 5 years building a life that looked perfect from the outside. Perfect husband, perfect penthouse, perfect charity galas, and vacation photos. And the whole time I was so fucking lonely I could barely breathe." Noah didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. "Anyway," Vivian straightened her shoulders, visibly pulling herself together. "Welcome to the Hale family disaster zone. I promise I'll try to keep my emotional breakdowns to a minimum while you're working on the deck." "For what it's worth," Noah said carefully, "I don't think falling apart makes you a disaster. I think it makes you human." Something shifted in Vivian's expression. The defensive wall lowered just slightly. Before she could respond, they heard the rumble of an engine. Marcus's Jeep pulled into the driveway, music blasting from the open windows. "The cavalry arrives," Vivian murmured. She looked at Noah one more time. "Thank you. For being kind." Then she slipped past him into the house, disappearing up the stairs before Marcus even made it to the front door. Marcus burst into the kitchen laden with grocery bags, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. "Noah, you made it! I got the good beer and actual food because I know you'll judge me if we live on pizza and chips all weekend." Noah helped him unload the bags, letting his friend chatter about the deck project, the new table saw he'd bought and didn't know how to use, his latest dating disaster. It felt normal, familiar, easy, but his mind kept drifting back to the woman upstairs, to the raw pain in her eyes, to the way she'd wrapped her arms around herself like she was trying to hold the pieces together. "So Vivian's here," Marcus said, pulling Noah from his thoughts. "Yeah, I saw her." Marcus's expression sobered. "She told you about the divorce?" "A little. It's bad, man. Really bad." Marcus shook his head. "Bradley turned out to be a grade A asshole. There's another woman, or maybe multiple women. Viv won't tell me everything. He's fighting her on the settlement even though they had an ironclad prenup. His family's making it ugly, spreading rumors trying to paint her as some kind of gold digger, which is insane because she's worth more than he is. Noah felt a surge of anger on her behalf. That's horrible. She's been staying at hotels, but the press figured it out. Paparazzi camping outside, stories in the tabloids, the whole circus. I told her to come here, hide out for a while where nobody would look. Marcus paused. I should have told you she'd be here. I just thought maybe it wouldn't be weird. It's not weird, Noah lied. It was absolutely weird, but not in the way Marcus thought. They spent the rest of the afternoon assessing the deck. It was worse than Noah had anticipated. Rotted boards, unstable posts, the kind of job that would take the full weekend and then some. But working with his hands had always centered him. There was something meditative about measuring, cutting, fitting pieces together into something solid and lasting. Marcus worked alongside him, though work was a generous term for his friend's enthusiastic but unskilled assistants. Mostly, Marcus provided commentary, held things in place, and fetched tools. Vivian didn't reappear. As evening approached, Marcus fired up the grill while Noah cleaned up the tools. The air had turned crisp, that perfect fall temperature where you needed a jacket but didn't quite want to admit it yet. I'm going to convince Viv to eat with us, Marcus announced, heading inside. Noah heard their voices drift through the open window. Marcus's cajoling tone, Vivian's quiet resistance. Then finally, a reluctant agreement. When she came outside 15 minutes later, she'd transformed herself. The messy hair was now sleek and pulled back. She'd changed into dark jeans and a cream-colored sweater. Her face was composed, makeup applied with careful precision to hide any trace of earlier tears. She looked like the Vivian he remembered, polished, controlled, untouchable, except for her eyes. Her eyes still looked sad. "Noah," she said, her voice professionally pleasant. "Thank you for taking on this project. I know Marcus is useless with actual tools." "Hey," Marcus protested. "You once tried to hammer a nail with a wrench," Vivian said dryly. "It worked, didn't it?" Despite herself, Vivian smiled. It was a real smile this time, warm and genuine, and it completely transformed her face. Noah felt something shift in his chest, something he immediately tried to ignore. They ate dinner on the half-demolished deck, sitting in lawn chairs because the built-in benches were no longer structurally sound. Marcus dominated the conversation as usual, telling stories about disastrous home improvement attempts and the terrible contractor who'd quoted them twice what the job was worth. Vivian was quiet, picking at her food, occasionally contributing a dry comment that made Marcus laugh. But Noah caught her watching him when she thought he wasn't looking, studying him, trying to figure him out. He understood the impulse. He was doing the same thing. She was supposed to be one thing, Marcus's brilliant, intimidating older sister, the woman who existed in boardrooms and society pages. But grief and vulnerability had stripped away that veneer, revealing someone much more complex underneath. Someone who seemed just as lost as he'd been 3 years ago, standing in a hospital room, trying to understand how his wife could be alive one moment and gone the next. "So, Noah," Vivian said suddenly, pulling him from darker thoughts, "Marcus tells me you have a son." "Jamie, he's 5. What's he like?" It was a simple question, but something in the way she asked it, genuinely curious, fully present, made Noah answer more honestly than he usually did with near strangers. "He's everything," Noah said simply. "Funny, sweet, obsessed with dinosaurs. He asks about 1,000 questions a day, gives the best hugs, and has absolutely no filter. Last week he told the mailman that his dad cries during Pixar movies." Marcus snorted. "That's because you do." "The beginning of Up is traumatic," Noah defended. Vivian laughed, a real laugh this time, unguarded and bright. "I cried during Up too. That montage should come with a warning label." "Right?" Noah grinned. "Jamie doesn't understand why I get emotional. He just keeps asking if we can get a house with balloons." "Are you going to?" "I'm working on the balloons part. The flying house might be outside my carpentry skill set." She smiled at that, and for a moment the sadness lifted from her eyes. The conversation drifted. Marcus told an embarrassing story about Noah's early dating disasters. Noah retaliated with Marcus's prom night catastrophe. Vivian shared a surprisingly self-deprecating tale about a business presentation that had gone spectacularly wrong when her PowerPoint started showing photos from her camera roll instead. "There I am, trying to discuss Q4 projections," she said, "and the screen is showing my attempt to photograph a really good sandwich." "Was it a good sandwich?" Noah asked seriously. "It was an exceptional sandwich, but not investor pitch appropriate." They laughed together, and it felt easy, natural, like they'd done this 100 times before. As the night deepened and the temperature dropped, Marcus declared it was too cold for outdoor drinking and herded them inside. He immediately claimed the best spot on the couch and started scrolling through streaming options. Noah settled into an armchair. Vivian curled up on the other end of the couch, pulling a throw blanket over her legs. Marcus put on some action movie, explosions, car chases, the kind of thing that required zero intellectual engagement. Perfect background noise. 20 minutes in, Marcus was snoring. Noah glanced over at Vivian. She was watching the TV, but her expression suggested she wasn't actually seeing it. Her mind was somewhere else entirely. "You okay?" he asked quietly. She startled slightly, then looked at him. Really looked at him. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." Marcus told me about your wife, that she died. I'm sorry, I can't imagine what that was like." Noah took a breath. People usually got awkward when Emma came up. They changed the subject or offered platitudes, but Vivian's eyes held only genuine compassion. "It was the worst thing that ever happened to me," he said honestly. "Sudden cardiac arrest. She was 27, healthy, no warning signs. One minute we were making breakfast, the next minute she was on the floor, and I was doing CPR while Jamie cried in his high chair." Vivian's hand went to her mouth. "Oh, Noah." "The doctors said there was nothing anyone could have done. A congenital heart defect nobody knew about. 1 in a million chance." He paused. "For a long time I was so angry. At her, at God, at the universe. It felt impossible that life could just continue. That the sun would keep rising and people would keep going to work and Jamie would keep needing breakfast and bedtime stories." "How did you survive it?" "I had to, for Jamie." Noah smiled slightly. "That kid saved my life in a lot of ways. Having someone who needed me, who couldn't understand why mommy wasn't coming back, it forced me to keep functioning, to build something from the wreckage." Vivian was quiet for a long moment. "I'm not comparing my situation to yours," she said finally. "Divorce isn't death, but sometimes it feels like mourning anyway. Mourning the future you thought you'd have, the person you thought you married, the version of yourself who believed in all of it." "That makes sense," Noah said. "Does it get easier?" "Yes and no." He considered his words carefully. "The acute pain fades. You start having good days mixed in with the bad ones. You build a new normal, but there's a before and after now, and you're never quite the same person you were before." "That's what I'm afraid of," Vivian whispered, "that this will break me in ways I can't come back from." Noah leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "Can I tell you what I learned?" She nodded. "You're stronger than you think you are. You don't feel strong right now. I get that. When Emma died, I felt like tissue paper, like the slightest wind would tear me apart. But you survive the unsurvivable. You take it day by day, sometimes hour by hour, and eventually you realize you're still standing." Vivian's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I'm glad you're here," she said softly. The words hung in the air between them, weighted with meaning neither of them was quite ready to examine. On the couch, Marcus let out a particularly loud snore and shifted position, his head lolling back against the cushions. The moment broke. Vivian stood, pulling the blanket tighter around her shoulders. "I should get some sleep. Big day of hiding from my life tomorrow." "For what it's worth," Noah said, "I don't think you're hiding. I think you're regrouping." She smiled at that, small, but genuine. "Good night, Noah." "Good night, Vivian." He watched her disappear up the stairs, then sat in the quiet living room listening to Marcus snore and the old house settle around him. Something had shifted tonight. Some connection had formed that he didn't quite understand and probably shouldn't pursue. Vivian Hale was brilliant, wealthy, and going through a nightmare divorce from a man in her own stratosphere. Noah was a small-town carpenter with sawdust in his hair and a 5-year-old at home. They had nothing in common except Marcus and a shared understanding of what it meant to have your life fractured beyond recognition. He should keep his distance, Be friendly, but professional. Help Marcus fix the deck and go home Sunday night, and forget about sad eyes and unexpected vulnerability. That was the smart thing to do. Noah had a feeling he wasn't going to do the smart thing. He woke the next morning to the smell of coffee and the sound of voices in the kitchen. Sunlight streamed through the guest room window, bright and insistent. Noah checked his phone. 2 texts from his mother, both containing photos of Jamie covered in what appeared to be pancake batter. He smiled, typed out a quick response, and headed downstairs. Marcus stood at the stove, attempting to make eggs. Vivian sat at the kitchen island, wrapped in an oversized cardigan, nursing a cup of coffee and watching her brother with obvious amusement. "He's going to burn them," she said when Noah entered. "I am not going to burn them," Marcus protested. "You always burn them. It's like your signature move." "Noah, tell her I can cook." "I've seen you burn water," Noah said, accepting the coffee Vivian poured for him. Traitor. They ended up with slightly burned eggs, slightly burned toast, and perfectly good coffee. Vivian made fruit salad to compensate for her brother's culinary disasters. They ate together at the island, trading sections of the newspaper, comfortable in a way that felt oddly domestic. "So," Marcus said through a mouthful of toast, "I have a confession." Noah raised an eyebrow. "I have to run into the city for a few hours. Client emergency. I tried to push it, but they're threatening to take their business elsewhere, and it's a big account." "Okay. Which means you two are stuck together for the morning." Marcus looked between them. "That's weird, right? Should I cancel? I can probably cancel." "Marcus, go to your meeting," Vivian said. "Noah's here to work on the deck, not babysit me. We're both adults." "I can keep working on the demo," Noah agreed. "No problem." Marcus still looked uncertain, but eventually he gathered his things, gave them both elaborate instructions about where everything was, and headed out, leaving Noah and Vivian alone in the big, quiet house. Vivian refilled her coffee. "You don't actually have to work on the deck if you don't want to. I'm sure Marcus guilted you into giving up your weekend." "I volunteered," Noah said, "and I like this kind of work. It's meditative." "Ripping apart a rotted deck is meditative?" "Building things, fixing things, taking something broken and making it whole again." He paused. "Yeah, I find that meditative." Vivian studied him over the rim of her mug. "Can I help?" "You want to help demo a deck?" "I want to do something with my hands that isn't refreshing my lawyer's email or checking to see what lies Bradley's PR team is spreading today." She set down her mug with a decisive click. "Teach me how to be useful." 20 minutes later, Vivian Hale, billionaire businesswoman, Stanford graduate, Forbes 30 under 30 recipient, stood on the deck in borrowed work gloves and her brother's old flannel shirt, prying up rotted boards with a crowbar, while Noah explained the structural issues. "This whole section needs to be replaced," he said, pointing to a visibly sagging area. "The joists underneath are compromised. Water damage, probably from years of neglect." Kind of like a marriage," Vivian said, then laughed at her own comment. "Sorry, everything's a metaphor for my divorce right now." "That must be exhausting." "You have no idea." She leveraged another board free, the nails shrieking in protest. "This is actually really satisfying, right? There's something cathartic about destruction when you know you're going to build something better in its place." They worked in comfortable silence for a while, the October sun warm on their backs, the air crisp and clean. Noah found himself hyper-aware of her presence, the way she bit her lower lip when she concentrated, the smudge of dirt on her cheek, the surprising strength in her arms as she worked. "Can I ask you something?" Vivian said eventually. "Sure." "Why carpentry? Was it always the plan, or did you fall into it?" Noah sat back on his heels, considering. "My dad was a carpenter. Grew up watching him build things, cabinets, furniture, whole houses sometimes. He had this philosophy that if you could work with your hands, you'd never starve, that there was dignity in making something that would outlast you." "That's beautiful." "He died when I was 17, heart attack, sudden, like Emma." Noah picked at a loose nail. "I apprenticed with his old crew, learned everything they could teach me. Started my own business at 23. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. I build things people need, I set my own hours, and I get to be there for Jamie." "You talk about him constantly," Vivian observed. "Jamie. Is that annoying?" "No, it's lovely. You can tell he's your whole world." Noah smiled. He is. Everything I do is for him. Building a business, buying a house, trying to create stability. It's all so he has a good life. A safe life. That's what good parents do, Vivian said quietly. Something in her tone made Noah look up. Did you want kids? With Bradley? Her hand stilled on the crowbar. We talked about it. He always said, someday, but someday kept getting pushed further out. Then I found out about the affairs, and I realized someday was never going to come. He didn't want a family with me. He wanted a trophy wife who made him look good at charity events. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm the idiot who married him. She yanked at a particularly stubborn board with more force than necessary. Everyone told me he was wrong for me. My dad, Marcus, my business partners. But I thought I knew better. I thought love would be enough. You're not an idiot for believing in love. Vivian looked at him, her expression unreadable. You really believe that? Even after what you've been through? Especially after what I've been through. Emma and I had 3 years together. 3 years of good marriage before she died. I'd rather have those 3 years than a lifetime of playing it safe. They held eye contact for a long moment. Then Vivian's phone buzzed insistently. She pulled off her gloves with a sigh, checking the screen. Her expression darkened. Bradley's lawyer, she said flatly, wanting to schedule another mediation session because apparently the 12 we've already had weren't enough. She stepped away to take the call, her voice shifting into something cool and professional. Noah tried not to eavesdrop, but it was impossible not to hear the sharp edge of her responses, the barely controlled anger underneath the corporate speak. When she hung up, her hands were shaking. Hey, Noah said gently, you okay? They want to contest the prenup. Claim I coerced him into signing it, which is insane because his lawyers wrote the damn thing. She laughed, a hollow sound. They're going to drag this out as long as possible, make it as painful as they can. That's the strategy. What do you need right now? The question seemed to surprise her. What? Right now in this moment, what would help? Vivian looked at him, then at the half-demolished deck, then back at him. Can we just keep working? I don't want to think about lawyers or Bradley or any of it. I just want to tear apart something that actually deserves it. Absolutely. They spent the rest of the morning demolishing the old deck with renewed vigor. Vivian threw herself into the work with an intensity that was probably unhealthy, but definitely effective. Noah led her, understanding sometimes you needed to channel pain into something physical. By lunchtime, they'd cleared twice as much as he'd expected. They were both covered in dirt and sweat, and Vivian's expensive leggings were probably ruined, but she looked more alive than she had since he'd arrived. I'm starving, she announced, pulling off her gloves. Want me to make lunch? You cook? I'm a single dad. I cook, clean, do laundry, braid hair, and can name every dinosaur that ever existed. I contain multitudes. Vivian laughed. Okay, impress me. Noah raided Marcus's kitchen, finding enough ingredients to make grilled cheese and tomato soup. Nothing fancy, but comfort food done well. Vivian perched on the kitchen counter, watching him work with unconcealed interest. You're very competent, she observed. Is that a compliment or an insult? A compliment. It's attractive when someone knows what they're doing. The comment hung in the air between them, loaded with something neither of them was ready to name. Noah focused on buttering bread. How long have you been staying here? 3 days. I was at the plaza before that, but someone tipped off page 6. Showed up to my hotel room door at 6 in the morning, asking if I'd comment on Bradley's new girlfriend. That's horrible. That's my life now. She sighed. I built a company, Noah. I employed 200 people, created something from nothing, sold it for more money than I knew what to do with, and all anyone wants to talk about is my failed marriage and who Bradley's fucking. Noah flipped the sandwiches. What was the company? Educational software for underprivileged schools. My thesis at Stanford was about the achievement gap, and I wanted to do something about it. We created adaptive learning programs that met kids where they were, helped teachers differentiate instruction without adding to their workload. Her whole face changed when she talked about it, lit up with genuine passion. That's amazing. It was. And then I sold it, married Bradley, and spent 5 years on charity boards and interior designers and learning which fork to use at state dinners. I told myself I was happy, that this was what success looked like. But you weren't happy. I was performing happiness, There's a difference. She watched him plate the sandwiches. What about you? Are you happy? Noah considered the question. Most days, yeah, it's not the life I planned. Emma was supposed to be here. We were supposed to raise Jamie together. But I have good work, a great kid, people I love. Could be worse. That's a very measured answer. You asked if I was happy, not if I was ecstatic. Happiness doesn't have to be fireworks. Sometimes it's just steady, stable, knowing you can handle what comes. Vivian hopped down from the counter as he carried their plates to the table. I think I forgot what stable feels like. They ate lunch together, the conversation drifting from heavy topics to lighter ones. Vivian asked about his business, his clients, the projects he was most proud of. Noah asked about her education software, the challenges of scaling a startup, what it felt like to see her creation in schools across the country. She was brilliant. That had never been in question. But she was also funny, self-deprecating, genuinely curious about his work in a way that didn't feel condescending. She asked intelligent questions about joinery techniques and load-bearing structures. She told him about the time she'd tried to build furniture from IKEA and ended up with something that looked like abstract art. I'm good at business, she admitted. I'm terrible at anything requiring spatial reasoning. That's okay. I'm good at spatial reasoning and terrible at business. Marcus says your company is doing well. It's sustainable. I'll never be rich, but I can pay my bills and give Jamie a good life. That's enough. Vivian looked at him thoughtfully. You really mean that, don't you? You're not just saying it. Why would I lie? Because everyone lies about what they want. They pretend money doesn't matter or status doesn't matter, but then they spend their whole lives chasing both. She paused. Bradley told me on our wedding day that he loved me for who I was, not what I had. Then I found emails to his mistress calling me his meal ticket. Noah felt a surge of anger. He sounds like a piece of shit. He is, but I married him anyway. She smiled sadly. That's on me. No, Noah said firmly. Loving someone in good faith isn't a character flaw. He's the one who lied. He's the one who betrayed you. That's on him. Vivian's eyes went bright. Thank you for saying that. Before Noah could respond, they heard Marcus's car in the driveway. The prodigal brother returns, Vivian murmured, standing to clear the plates. Marcus burst in full of apologies and explanations. The client meeting had run long. There was traffic. He'd stopped for groceries. He barely seemed to notice that his sister and his best friend had been alone together for hours. The rest of the day passed in a blur of work. The three of them tackled the deck together, Marcus providing moral support and occasional actual help. As the sun started to set, they surveyed their progress. The old deck completely demolished, the support structure exposed and assessed. Tomorrow we rebuild, Noah announced, stretching his sore back. Tomorrow we order pizza and hire a professional, Marcus countered. I am a professional. You know what I mean. They cleaned up and headed inside. Marcus immediately declared it was shower time and disappeared upstairs. Vivian lingered in the kitchen with Noah, neither of them quite ready to end the day. Thank you, she said quietly, for today, for listening, for treating me like a person instead of a headline. You are a person, Noah said. Anyone who treats you otherwise is an idiot. She smiled. You're very kind. I'm honest. There's a difference. Vivian moved closer, and Noah caught the scent of her, something expensive and subtle beneath the honest smell of sawdust and sweat. I'm really glad you're here, she said, repeating the words from last night, but with different weight this time, with more intention. Noah's heart kicked in his chest. Vivian, I know, she interrupted softly. Trust me, I know all the reasons this is complicated, but right now, in this moment, I just wanted you to know. You being here matters. Then she turned and headed upstairs, leaving Noah standing alone in the kitchen, his mind racing. This was dangerous territory. She was vulnerable, going through a divorce, emotionally raw. He had no business developing feelings for her. No business noticing the way her laugh made his chest feel warm or the way her intelligence sparked something in him he'd thought died with Emma. He had Jamie to think about. He had a carefully constructed life built on stability and routine. Getting involved with Vivian Hale, beautiful, brilliant, complicated Vivian Hale, would upend everything. He knew all of this. And yet, when he lay in bed that night listening to the old house settle around him, all he could think about was the way she'd looked at him in the kitchen, like he mattered, like maybe, against all logic and reason, this weekend was the beginning of something neither of them had planned for, something that might change everything. Sunday morning arrived too quickly. Noah woke to his phone buzzing with messages from his mother, photos of Jamie at the park, videos of him feeding ducks, a request for his opinion on whether 5 was too young for soccer camp. He smiled, typed responses, felt the familiar tug of missing his son. Downstairs, Vivian was already up, making coffee in yesterday's flannel shirt and leggings, her hair in a messy bun. She looked softer than the polished woman he'd first met, more real. "Morning," she said, handing him a mug without being asked. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep. Keep thinking about the mediation next week. My lawyer says we're close to a settlement, but I've heard that before." Noah leaned against the counter. "What happens after? When it's final?" "I have no idea." She laughed. "I've spent so much energy on getting out that I haven't thought about what comes next. I don't even know where I want to live. The penthouse is Bradley's family property. My apartment in the city is being renovated. I've been living in hotels in my brother's guest room like some kind of wealthy vagrant. You could stay here longer. Marcus would love that, but I can't hide forever." She sipped her coffee. "I need to figure out who I am when I'm not Bradley Whitmore's wife, or Vivian Hale, CEO. Just Vivian, whoever that is." "I think you're doing better than you realize," Noah said gently. Marcus thundered down the stairs before Vivian could respond, immediately declaring his intention to make the world's best pancakes and proceeding to destroy the kitchen in the attempt. They spent the morning rebuilding what they'd torn down. Noah directed the work, showing Marcus and Vivian how to properly install joists, explaining load distribution and structural integrity. Vivian caught on quickly, asking smart questions, measuring twice like he taught her. By early afternoon, they'd made significant progress. The new framework was taking shape, solid and level where the old deck had sagged. "We're not going to finish today," Noah admitted, standing back to assess their work. "So come back next weekend," Marcus said immediately. Noah hesitated. He should say no, should let this weekend be what it was, a momentary intersection of lives that would naturally drift apart again. But then he looked at Vivian, covered in sawdust, smiling at something Marcus said, and he heard himself agree. "Yeah, okay, next weekend." Something passed between him and Vivian, an acknowledgement, a promise of continuation. Marcus, oblivious as ever, just grinned and clapped him on the back. They worked until the light started to fade, then cleaned up tools and went inside for dinner. Marcus ordered Thai food and they ate sprawled around the living room, laughing at stupid videos on Marcus's phone, arguing about movies they'd seen or wanted to see. It felt easy, natural, like they'd done this 1,000 times before. But eventually, reality reasserted itself. Noah needed to get home. Jamie would be waiting. Real life was calling. He gathered his things while Marcus loaded the dishwasher. Vivian walked him to his truck, wrapping her arms around herself against the evening chill. "Drive safe," she said. "I will." He threw his bag in the passenger seat, then turned back to her. "Vivian, I know," she said again. "It's complicated. You have Jamie. I'm a mess. There are 1,000 reasons to keep our distance. But? Because there was definitely a but hanging in the air. But I haven't felt this much like myself in years. And that scares me almost as much as it excites me." Noah didn't know what to say to that, so he did something possibly stupid and definitely impulsive. He reached out and squeezed her hand, just briefly, just a moment of connection. "See you next weekend," he said. Vivian squeezed back. "Yeah, next weekend." Noah drove away from the Hale house as autumn darkness settled over Connecticut, watching Vivian in his rearview mirror until she disappeared into the house. His phone rang halfway home. His mother, letting him know Jamie was fed, bathed, and asking when Daddy would be there. 20 minutes, Noah told her. "Tell him I'm bringing him a surprise." "What surprise?" Noah thought about the weekend, the work, the conversations, the unexpected connection forming with someone he had no business connecting with. "I'll figure it out," he said. And maybe that was the truth of it. Maybe sometimes the best things in life were the ones you didn't plan for. The ones that caught you off guard and changed everything while you weren't looking. He thought about Vivian's words. "I'm glad you're here." Noah was glad too. Whatever came next, whatever complications lay ahead, he was glad. That had to count for something. The week that followed moved with the strange elasticity of time, when you're waiting for something you shouldn't want as much as you do. Noah threw himself into work. A kitchen renovation in Fairfield, custom bookshelves for a professor's home office, 3 different repair estimates that kept him busy from dawn until Jamie's bedtime. But even as his hands measured and cut and assembled, his mind kept drifting back to a half-demolished deck and the woman who'd worked beside him in borrowed flannel. He told himself it was nothing. A connection formed in a moment of vulnerability. Vivian was lonely, he was kind, and they'd probably laugh about it someday when she was happily remarried to some CEO and he was still building cabinets in Connecticut. But then his phone would buzz with a text message, and all his rational arguments would evaporate. The first text came Monday evening while Noah was giving Jamie a bath. Just a simple message. "Thank you again for this weekend. Marcus is already planning your sainthood for putting up with us." Noah had stared at those words for a full minute before responding. "No sainthood necessary. I had a good time." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "Me too, more than I expected to." That opened a floodgate neither of them seemed able to close. The text started casually enough. Vivian asking carpentry questions about the deck project, Noah sending her photos of Jamie's latest dinosaur drawings. But within days, the conversation had shifted into something deeper. She told him about sleepless nights spent reviewing legal documents, about the humiliation of seeing her marriage dissected in the tabloids, about her fear that she'd wasted the best years of her life on a man who'd never really loved her. Noah found himself sharing things he rarely talked about. The guilt that sometimes crept in late at night when he wondered if he was doing enough for Jamie, the loneliness of being the only parent at kindergarten pickup, the strange weight of being 28 when Emma died and feeling like life had divided into before and after. "Do you ever feel angry at her?" Vivian asked one night. "For leaving you?" Noah had been putting away dishes, his phone propped against the backsplash. He paused, considering the question with the honesty it deserved. Sometimes, not at her specifically, but at the unfairness of it all. We were supposed to grow old together. She was supposed to see Jamie start school, lose his first tooth, graduate high school. She's going to miss everything, and that makes me so fucking angry sometimes I can barely breathe. The response came quickly. That makes sense. Anger is just love with nowhere to go. Noah had read that line 3 times, something in his chest tightening. Where'd you learn that? Therapy. Lots and lots of therapy. My divorce lawyer recommended a good one, said it would help me process my feelings in a healthy manner. Mostly I just cry for 50 minutes while she hands me tissues. Does it help? I think so. I'm not drinking a bottle of wine every night anymore, so that's progress. The honesty of that admission made Noah's heart ache. Were you? Drinking that much? For a while, yeah, after I found out about Bradley's affairs. It was either that or set his vintage Mercedes on fire, and my lawyer said arson would complicate the divorce proceedings. Despite the heaviness of the conversation, Noah smiled. Probably sound advice. She's very practical. I don't think she approves of me texting you, actually. Noah's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Why not? She says I need to spend time alone, figure out who I am without a man in my life, that I have a pattern of defining myself through relationships. Does she have a point? The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, probably. But you're easy to talk to, and I don't have many people I can be honest with right now. Is that selfish? No. But if your therapist thinks you need space, I can give you that. What if I don't want space? Noah had stared at that message for a long time, acutely aware that they were edging toward something neither of them had explicitly named, something that felt inevitable and terrifying in equal measure. Then no space, he'd finally typed. But Vivian, I need you to know I'm not trying to take advantage of what you're going through. I know that. You're one of the only people who isn't trying to get something from me. Do you know how rare that is? The conversation had continued late into the night, touching on everything and nothing. Childhood memories, favorite books, the best pizza in Connecticut, whether aliens existed, what they'd do if they won the lottery. By the time Noah finally said goodnight and crawled into bed, it was past midnight and his alarm would go off in 5 hours. But he couldn't stop smiling. The pattern repeated itself throughout the week. They'd text throughout the day, quick messages during work breaks, longer conversations in the evening after Jamie was asleep. Noah found himself looking forward to those late-night exchanges with an intensity that should have worried him. Wednesday night, Vivian called instead of texting. "Is this okay?" she asked when he picked up. "I just needed to hear a voice that isn't my lawyer or my brother or a journalist asking for comment." "It's okay," Noah said, settling into his usual spot on the couch. "What happened?" "Bradley's team is leaking stories to the press, saying I was cold, controlling, impossible to please, that I prioritized my career over our marriage. One of his friends told Page Six I refused to have children because it would damage my figure." The bitterness in her voice was palpable. "That's bullshit," Noah said flatly. "Of course it's bullshit, but it doesn't matter because now it's out there and people believe it. I'm the ice queen who cared more about boardrooms than babies." She laughed, a hollow sound. "The irony is, I would have loved to have children. Bradley was the one who kept postponing, said we needed to wait until his career was more established, until we had the right house, until the timing was perfect. The timing was never going to be perfect because he never actually wanted them." "I'm sorry. I should be used to it by now. The lies, the spin, the character assassination. This is how these things go when you're divorcing someone with money and connections. But it still hurts every single time." Noah could hear the tears in her voice, quickly suppressed. "Where are you right now?" "Hotel room in Manhattan. I have early meetings tomorrow with my financial team. We're restructuring my portfolio, making sure Bradley can't touch anything that's legally mine." "Are you alone?" "Yeah, why?" "Just making sure you're okay." There was a pause, and when Vivian spoke again, her voice was softer. "Can I tell you something embarrassing?" "Always." "These conversations with you are the best part of my day. I know that's pathetic considering we've known each other for basically a week." "It's not pathetic," Noah interrupted. "And for what it's worth, these conversations are the best part of my day too." "Really? Really? Jamie's a close second, but you've got better vocabulary." Vivian laughed, a real laugh this time. "How is Jamie?" "Currently obsessed with volcanoes. We spent 45 minutes tonight building a baking soda volcano for his show and tell. It exploded all over the kitchen." "Did you get pictures?" "So many pictures. My mom says I'm creating a narcissist by documenting every moment of his life." "You're creating memories," Vivian said. "There's a difference." And they talked for another hour about nothing important and everything important. Vivian told him about her meetings, the new business ventures she was considering, her fear that she'd lost herself somewhere between the startup and the society wedding. Noah told her about the grandfather clock he was restoring, Jamie's upcoming birthday party, the way autumn in New England always made him feel both melancholy and hopeful. "I wish I was there," Vivian said eventually, "in Connecticut instead of this sterile hotel room. Marcus keeps texting me about the deck progress, sending photos, making me jealous." "You're invited this weekend," Noah reminded her. "We're installing the new decking boards." "I know. I'll be there." A pause. "Noah?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for being steady when everything else is chaos." After they hung up, Noah sat in the quiet of his small house, listening to the radiator hiss and the old floorboards settle. He thought about Vivian alone in a Manhattan hotel room, surrounded by luxury and completely isolated. He thought about the woman he'd met that first weekend, vulnerable and real beneath the polished exterior. And he thought about the fact that he was falling for her. It was a terrible idea. She was still married, technically, still processing a nightmare divorce, still figuring out who she was outside of her relationship. The last thing she needed was a small-town carpenter with a kid and a modest life offering her complications. But the heart didn't care about logistics. The heart just kept pulling him toward her with a gravity he couldn't fight even if he wanted to. By Friday afternoon, Noah was loading his truck with tools for the weekend, trying to ignore the nervous energy thrumming through his body. Jamie was already at his parents' house, bribed with promises of McDonald's and a movie. Marcus had texted 3 times about beer and pizza toppings, but it was the message from Vivian that made Noah's hand still on the toolbox. "I'm scared," she'd written, "not of the divorce or the lawyers, of whatever this is between us, of how much I'm looking forward to seeing you. Is that crazy?" Noah typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on, "If you're crazy, then so am I." Her reply came instantly. Maybe we can be crazy together. The drive to the Hale house felt both endless and far too short. Noah's mind spun with possibilities, consequences, all the ways this could go wrong. But when he pulled into the driveway and saw Vivian sitting on the front steps waiting for him, all his careful reasoning evaporated. She stood as he parked, and he noticed details. The way she'd dressed in jeans and an old sweater instead of her usual polished attire. The tentative smile that transformed into something brighter when their eyes met. The fact that she'd been waiting outside for him specifically. "Hey," she said as he climbed out of the truck. "Hey yourself." They stood there for a moment, the October wind whipping leaves around their feet, neither quite sure what to do with the tension crackling between them. "Marcus is running late," Vivian said. "Client call went long. He'll be here in an hour or so." "Okay. So it's just us for a bit." "Okay," Noah repeated. Vivian stepped closer. "I've been thinking about what I said yesterday, about being scared." "Me too. And I think—" She paused, searching for words. "I think I'm tired of being careful. I spent 5 years being careful with Bradley, monitoring my words, managing his image, making myself smaller so he could feel bigger. I don't want to do that anymore." Noah's heart was pounding. "What do you want?" "Honesty, even if it's messy, even if the timing is terrible." She looked up at him. "I like you, Noah. A lot. More than I should probably admit right now. And I know this is complicated and I'm still technically married and you have Jamie to think about, but I needed you to know." He'd imagined this moment a dozen different ways throughout the week. Imagined being noble, stepping back, doing the right thing. But standing here with Vivian looking at him like he was something precious and fragile, all his noble intentions crumbled. "I like you too," he said quietly. "I have since that first weekend. Maybe even since that first moment on the deck when you were crying and trying so hard to hide it. Really, really, you're brilliant and funny and so much stronger than you give yourself credit for. And yes, the timing is terrible, but—" He stopped, took a breath. "I don't want to pretend this isn't happening." Vivian's eyes went bright. "So what do we do?" "I think we're honest with ourselves and each other. We don't rush anything. We give you time to finish your divorce and figure out your life. But we also don't pretend there's nothing here." "That sounds very rational." "I'm trying to be rational. Inside, I'm terrified." She laughed, reaching for his hand. Her fingers were cold, and Noah instinctively wrapped his hand around hers, sharing warmth. "Come inside," Vivian said. I'll make coffee, and we can pretend to be normal people having a normal conversation." "Are we not normal people?" "Noah, I'm a billionaire going through a tabloid divorce, and you're a widowed single father. We stopped being normal the moment we met." They walked into the house hand in hand, and it felt like crossing some invisible threshold. Inside, Vivian moved around the kitchen with increasing confidence, making coffee while Noah leaned against the counter and watched her. The domesticity of it struck him, how natural it felt to be here with her, how right. "Marcus really is going to be late," Vivian said, handing him a mug. "He texted while you were unloading, says not to wait for him to start on the deck. We can wait." Or, she bit her lip, "Or we could talk, really talk, about all the things we've been texting about but haven't said out loud." They ended up in the living room, sitting on opposite ends of the couch like teenagers at a chaperoned dance. But the conversation flowed easily, picking up threads from their late-night texts and weaving them into something deeper. Vivian told him about her marriage. Not just the public dissolution, but the private slow death that had preceded it. The way Bradley had gradually lost interest in her thoughts, her work, her dreams. How she'd tried so hard to be what he wanted, only to realize he'd never actually wanted her at all. Just the image of her. "I keep asking myself what I missed," she said, curled into the corner of the couch. "What signs I ignored. Because there must have been signs, right? People don't just wake up one day and become unfaithful narcissists." "Maybe," Noah said. "Or maybe he was always good at hiding who he really was. Some people are." "Were you happy with Emma?" The question caught him off guard, but he appreciated her directness. "Yeah, we were happy. Not perfect. We fought about stupid things like whose turn it was to do dishes or whether we could afford a new couch. But the foundation was solid. We liked each other, respected each other, wanted the same things." "That sounds nice." It was brief, but nice. Noah studied her. What did you and Bradley fight about? Everything and nothing. He hated that I worked too much, but also hated when I tried to be more present because then I was hovering. He wanted me at events, but got annoyed if I talked too long to other people. I could never quite figure out the rules because they kept changing. That's not a fight. That's control. Vivian looked at him sharply. My therapist said the same thing. Your therapist sounds smart. She is. She also said I need to spend time being single before jumping into anything new, that I have patterns I need to break. Vivian paused. But then I met you and all her good advice went out the window. We don't have to jump into anything, Noah said carefully. We can take this slow. Figure it out as we go. Is that what you want? Slow? He considered lying, being noble, doing the right thing, but he'd promised honesty. No, what I want is to cross this couch and kiss you until neither of us can think straight. But what I want and what's smart aren't always the same thing. Vivian's breath hitched. What if I want that too? Then we'd both be making a potentially terrible decision. I'm tired of making smart decisions, Noah. Smart decisions got me a marriage to a man who never loved me and a life that looked perfect but felt empty. She shifted closer. You make me feel real, present. Like I'm not just going through the motions but actually living. Noah's pulse was racing. Vivian, I know. I know all the reasons we should wait. But I've been waiting my whole life for the right moment, and the right moment never comes. It's always someday when the business is established, when the marriage is solid, when everything is perfect. I don't want perfect anymore. I want honest. She was close enough now that Noah could see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes, could smell her perfume beneath the scent of coffee. My divorce isn't final, she continued softly, and I'm probably a mess emotionally, and you have every right to run screaming in the opposite direction. But I need you to know, she took a shaky breath. These past 2 weeks, talking to you, getting to know you, it's been the best thing to happen to me in years. And I don't want to pretend that away because the timing isn't ideal. Noah made a decision, maybe a stupid one, maybe one he'd regret, but he made it anyway. He closed the distance between them and cupped her face in his hands. I'm not running anywhere. No? No. I'm right here. And if we're doing this, whatever this is, we're doing it honestly, which means you need to know that I'm falling for you. Fast and hard and probably unwisely. And I don't care about your money or your status or any of that. I care about you. The woman who cries during Pixar movies and demolishes decks like she's training for warfare and texts me terrible puns at 2 a.m. Vivian's eyes were shining. Those puns are hilarious. They're objectively terrible. You still laugh. Because you're terrible at puns, but adorable in your determination. She smiled, her hands coming up to rest on his wrists. Are you going to kiss me or just keep insulting my humor? Definitely going to kiss you. Finally. Noah leaned in slowly, giving her every opportunity to change her mind, to pull back, to remember all the reasons this was complicated. But Vivian met him halfway, and when their lips finally touched, it felt like something clicking into place. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, both of them learning the shape of something new. But then Vivian made a small sound in the back of her throat and pressed closer, and Noah forgot about being careful. His hand slid into her hair, hers gripped his shirt, and the kiss deepened into something that felt simultaneously like coming home and free-falling. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Vivian's forehead rested against his. Well, she said shakily, that was... yeah. Should we talk about what this means? Probably. Noah pulled back slightly so he could see her face. But I think the short version is this. I'm all in if you are. But we take it at your pace. You need to finish your divorce. I need to make sure Jamie's okay with changes in my life. We're honest with each other, and we don't hide what we're feeling. That sounds reasonable. Is it what you want? Vivian kissed him again, quick and sweet. It's exactly what I want. They heard Marcus's car in the driveway approximately 30 seconds later. They sprang apart like guilty teenagers, Vivian smoothing her hair while Noah tried to look like he'd been doing something, anything, other than kissing his best friend's sister on the couch. Marcus bounded in carrying pizza boxes and a case of beer, completely oblivious to the charged atmosphere. Sorry I'm late. Client was being impossible. Did you guys start without me? He looked between them. Why do you both look weird? We don't look weird, Vivian said too quickly. You definitely look weird. Did something happen? We were just talking, Noah managed. About the deck. The deck, right. Marcus set down the pizza. Well, let's eat and then get to work. I'm determined to actually be useful this weekend instead of just providing moral support. The rest of the evening passed in a strange duality. On the surface, everything was normal. They ate pizza, worked on the deck, joked around like they always did. But underneath ran a current of awareness between Noah and Vivian, hands brushing when passing tools, eyes meeting across the workspace, small smiles that held entire conversations. Marcus remained cheerfully oblivious, talking nonstop about his work drama and asking Noah's advice on whether he should ask out the woman from his gym. He didn't notice the way his sister watched his best friend, or the way Noah's attention kept drifting to Vivian even while discussing proper deckboard spacing. When darkness fell and they moved inside, Marcus immediately claimed the TV and found a documentary about Vikings. Within 20 minutes, he was snoring on the couch. Noah and Vivian exchanged glances. He does this every time, Vivian whispered. Falls asleep by 9, sleeps through everything. I remember. He once slept through a fire alarm. That was junior year of college. I had to physically drag him out of the building. They were standing close together in the kitchen, ostensibly cleaning up from dinner, but really just existing in each other's space. Come outside with me? Vivian asked softly. They grabbed jackets and slipped out to the newly rebuilt section of deck. The October night was crisp and clear, stars brilliant overhead. Vivian settled onto one of the new boards and Noah sat beside her, their shoulders touching. I've been thinking about logistics, Vivian said. Okay. My lawyer says the divorce should be final within the next 2 months. Bradley's team is running out of stalling tactics. Once it's done, I'm free. And then? Then I figure out what I want my life to look like, where I want to live, what I want to do. I've been offered positions on several boards. I could start another company, or I could take time and just be, for the first time since college. Noah listened, hearing what she wasn't saying. Where does Connecticut factor in? He asked carefully. That depends. On? She looked at him. On whether you want me here. I know it's early and we're still figuring this out, but I need to know if this is just a moment for you or if it could be something more. Noah took her hand. I don't do moments, Vivian. When I commit to something, I'm all in. That's how I loved Emma. That's how I parent Jamie, and that's how I'll be with you. If we're doing this, really doing this, then it's not casual for me. It's real. Even though we barely know each other, we've spent the last 2 weeks talking every day. I know your coffee order, your irrational hatred of cilantro, that you read 3 books at once and watch cooking shows when you can't sleep. I know you're brilliant, but don't believe it, generous, but won't accept help, strong but terrified of appearing weak. I know the sound you make when you laugh for real versus when you're being polite. Vivian's eyes were wide. You noticed all that? I notice everything about you. She kissed him then, right there on the deck under the stars, and Noah felt something settle in his chest. Some certainty that, despite the complications and terrible timing and all the logical reasons this shouldn't work, it was going to. I'm scared, Vivian admitted when they broke apart, of messing this up, of my life being too complicated, of you realizing I'm not worth the trouble. You're absolutely worth the trouble, Noah said firmly. And yeah, this is complicated, but the best things usually are. They sat together in the cold talking about futures and possibilities. Vivian told him about her mediation scheduled for the following week, the final push to settle the divorce. Noah told her about Jamie's upcoming birthday, his nervousness about eventually introducing someone new into his son's life. I want to meet him, Vivian said. Eventually, when you're ready. I know that's a big step. It is, but I want that too, just slowly. He's already lost his mother. I need to be sure before I bring someone into his world. I understand, and I'll wait as long as you need. Even if it takes months? Even if it takes months. She squeezed his hand. I'm not going anywhere, Noah. For the first time in a long time, I know exactly where I want to be. The weekend unfolded with a new rhythm. They worked on the deck during the day, Marcus obliviously directing operations while Noah and Vivian exchanged secret smiles. In the evenings, after Marcus inevitably fell asleep, they'd steal time together, talking on the deck, sharing stories, learning each other in quiet increments. Sunday morning arrived too quickly, bringing with it the reality that Noah needed to get home to Jamie. He packed his truck slowly, reluctant to leave the bubble they'd created. Vivian walked him out, Marcus still asleep inside. "Next weekend?" she asked. "I have Jamie, and there's a birthday party, and I promised my mom I'd fix her kitchen cabinet." Vivian's face fell slightly before she could hide it. "But," Noah continued, "maybe you could come to me. See my life, meet my world. If you want?" "Really? Really?" "Fair warning, it's nowhere near as nice as this. Small house, toys everywhere, significantly less fancy." "Sounds perfect." She kissed him quickly. "Text me the address." Noah drove home with his mind spinning. What was he doing? Inviting a billionaire to his modest house in a working-class neighborhood? Potentially introducing her to Jamie when they'd been whatever this was for less than a month? But then he remembered the way she'd looked at him on the deck, the honesty in her voice when she said she wasn't going anywhere. He thought about Emma, who taught him that life was too short to waste on fear and hesitation. And he thought about the fact that for the first time since his wife died, he was excited about the future. Not just surviving it or getting through it, but actually excited to see what came next. That had to mean something. His phone buzzed as he pulled into his driveway. A text from Vivian. "Already missing you. Is that pathetic?" Noah smiled, typing back, "Only if it's pathetic that I've been missing you since I left the driveway." 3 dots. Then, "We're both pathetic together. I can live with that." Jamie burst out the front door before Noah even had the truck in park, his grandmother following at a more reasonable pace. "Daddy! Daddy! Grandma let me stay up late, and we watched a movie about sharks." Noah scooped up his son, breathing in the familiar scent of kid shampoo and pure joy. "Did you? Were they scary?" "So scary, but I was brave." "That's my boy." His mother watched them with the knowing look mothers have. "Good weekend?" "Yeah, Ma. Really good." "Marcus's deck coming along?" "Getting there." Noah set Jamie down, watching him race back toward the house. "Actually, I might have someone come visit next weekend, just to see how things go." His mother's eyebrows rose. "Someone?" "Marcus's sister, Vivian. She's going through a divorce and we've been talking, and I think—" He paused. "I think she might be important." "Important enough to meet your son?" "Maybe. Eventually. I'm taking it slow." His mother studied him for a long moment, then smiled. "Good. You deserve something good, Noah. You've been alone long enough." That night, after Jamie was asleep and the house was quiet, Noah sat on his back porch and called Vivian. "Hey," she answered immediately. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, Jamie's asleep. Just wanted to hear your voice." "I'm glad you called. I've been staring at my phone for an hour trying not to text you every 5 minutes. You can text me whenever you want." "That's dangerous information to give me." Noah smiled. "I'm willing to take the risk." They talked until after midnight, voices soft in the darkness, sharing the kinds of details that didn't fit into text messages. Vivian told him about her mediation prep, the nervousness that kept her awake. Noah told her about Jamie's excitement for his birthday, the dinosaur-themed party that was growing more elaborate by the day. "I'm nervous about next weekend," Vivian admitted. "Meeting your world. What if I don't fit?" "You'll fit," Noah said with more confidence than he felt. "And if you're nervous, think how I felt meeting you. I'm a carpenter with sawdust in my hair trying to talk to a woman who sells companies for millions of dollars." "You never seemed nervous." "I was terrified. You're intimidating." "I am not." "You absolutely are. In the best way." Vivian laughed. "Well, now we're even. I'm terrified too. Then we'll be terrified together." "I think I like being terrified with you." "Yeah," Noah said softly. "Me too." After they hung up, Noah sat in the darkness for a long time, thinking about risk and reward, about the way life surprised you when you least expected it. He thought about Emma and the love they'd built, brief but real. And he thought about Vivian and the possibility growing between them. He'd learned the hard way that nothing was guaranteed, that life could change in an instant, that tomorrow wasn't promised. But he'd also learned that hiding from possibility wasn't living. It was just existing. And Noah was tired of just existing. His phone buzzed one last time before sleep. Vivian. The mediation is Thursday. Wish me luck. Noah typed back. You don't need luck. You've got this. But I'll be thinking about you anyway. That's all I need. Good night, Noah. Good night, Vivian. Noah climbed into bed, his mind already counting down the days until he'd see her again. Until she'd walk into his real life and he'd find out if what they'd built in stolen moments and late-night conversations could survive the light of day. He was scared, but he was also hopeful. And for now, that was enough. Thursday arrived with the weight of inevitability. Noah woke at 5 a.m, unable to sleep, thinking about Vivian sitting in some sterile conference room while lawyers dissected the remains of her marriage. He'd promised himself he wouldn't text her. She needed to focus, needed all her energy for what was coming. But by 7, he broke down and sent a simple message. You've got this. Her response came almost immediately. I'm terrified. That's normal. But you're stronger than you think. I wish you were here. Noah stared at those words, his thumb hovering over the keyboard. He had a consultation at 9, a cabinet install at noon, Jamie to pick up from kindergarten at 3. His day was structured, planned, the kind of carefully constructed schedule that kept his small business running and his son's life stable. But Vivian needed him. He made a decision that probably qualified as irresponsible but felt absolutely necessary. He called his client and rescheduled the consultation, texted his installation crew to handle the cabinet job without him, and called his mother. Ma, I need a favor. Can you get Jamie from school today? Of course. Everything all right? Yeah, there's something I need to do. His mother was quiet for a moment. This about the woman you mentioned? Marcus's sister? Yeah. Then go. Jamie will be fine with me. Thanks, Ma. Noah was in his truck 5 minutes later, driving toward Manhattan with no real plan beyond being there. Vivian had mentioned the mediation was at her lawyer's office in Midtown. He texted her the address, asking if it would help or hurt for him to be nearby. Her response came 20 minutes later. You're coming to the city? Already halfway there. Noah, you don't have to do that, I know, but I want to. No pressure. If you need to do this alone, I'll grab coffee and wait. But if you need someone in your corner, I'm here. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Then, 4th floor lobby. There's a cafe. I'll text you when we break. Noah made it to Manhattan by 8:30, found parking in an overpriced garage, and located the building, all glass and steel, the kind of place that screamed corporate law and hourly rates that would make his eyes water. The cafe Vivian mentioned was tucked in the corner of the lobby, sleek and modern, serving coffee that cost more than his usual breakfast. He bought a cup anyway and settled into a corner table with a clear view of the elevators. The wait was excruciating. Noah tried to focus on work emails, on sketches for an upcoming project, on anything other than imagining what was happening 4 floors above him. But his mind kept drifting to Vivian in some conference room, facing the man who'd betrayed her, negotiating the end of everything she'd thought her life would be. His phone buzzed at 10:15. A text from Vivian. First session done. Bradley's lawyer is an asshole, taking a break. Noah was already standing when the elevator doors opened and Vivian stepped out. She looked exhausted, her hair pulled back in a severe bun, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than his truck, her makeup immaculate but unable to hide the strain around her eyes. Then she saw him, and her entire face transformed. You actually came, she said, crossing the lobby in quick strides. I said I would. I know, but I thought... She stopped a few feet away, suddenly uncertain. They were in public, in her professional world, and Noah realized she didn't know what was appropriate, what they were to each other in spaces like this. He solved the problem by pulling her into a hug. Vivian melted into him, her arms wrapping tight around his waist, her face pressed against his chest. He felt her shoulders shake and realized she was crying, silent, suppressed sobs she'd probably been holding back for hours. I've got you, Noah murmured. I've got you. They stood like that for a long moment, ignoring the curious glances from lobby traffic. When Vivian finally pulled back, she swiped at her eyes, trying to salvage her makeup. Sorry, she whispered. I'm a mess. You're allowed to be a mess. Noah guided her to his corner table, away from prying eyes. What happened up there? Vivian took a shaky breath. Bradley showed up with his parents. His mother kept making comments about how I'd trapped her son, how the prenup was clearly unfair. His lawyer tried to argue that my company's value should be considered marital property, even though I built it before we met. And Bradley just sat there looking bored, like this was all beneath him. That's bullshit. My lawyer tore their arguments apart, but it doesn't make it less exhausting or humiliating. Having to justify my own success, prove I'm not some gold digger, defend decisions I made when I still believed he loved me. She laughed bitterly. His lawyer actually suggested I was having an affair. That's their new strategy. Paint me as the unfaithful one. Noah felt anger flash through him. With who? They didn't specify, just insinuated, planted the seed. She looked at him. That's how this works. They can't win on facts, so they attack character. Make me look bad enough that I'll accept a worse settlement just to make it stop. What did your lawyer say? That it's a desperate move and won't hold up. That we're actually close to done, maybe one more session after today. But Noah, I'm so tired of fighting, tired of defending myself, tired of being strong. He took her hand across the table. How much longer do you have to be here today? We reconvene in 45 minutes, probably another 2 or 3 hours of negotiation. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. You're going to drink this overpriced coffee, eat something because I'm guessing you skipped breakfast, and take 15 minutes to just breathe. Then you're going to go back up there and remember that you're Vivian fucking Hale. You built a company from nothing. You're smarter than everyone in that room combined, and you deserve better than what Bradley gave you. A small smile tugged at Vivian's lips. Vivian fucking Hale? It has a nice ring to it. My mother would be horrified. Your mother isn't going through a nightmare divorce. You are. And you get to handle it however you need to. Vivian squeezed his hand. Thank you for being here, for driving 2 hours just to sit in a lobby and give me a pep talk. It's not just a pep talk, it's the truth. They sat together for the next 30 minutes, not talking about the mediation or lawyers or divorce. Instead, Noah told her about Jamie's latest dinosaur obsession, about the elaborate birthday party his mother was planning that had somehow evolved to include a bounce house and a paleontologist guest speaker. Vivian told him about the apartment she'd been looking at, about her consideration to start a foundation focused on educational equity. Normal conversation, normal hopes and plans. A reminder that life existed beyond conference rooms and legal battles. When Vivian's phone alarm chimed, signaling it was time to return upstairs, she looked visibly steadier. Will you wait? She asked. I know it's a lot to ask. I'll wait as long as you need. She kissed him then, right there in the corporate lobby, a quick press of lips that felt like both gratitude and promise. I'll text you when we're done. Noah watched her disappear into the elevator, shoulders squared, chin lifted, every inch the brilliant businesswoman he'd first met. But now he knew the vulnerability underneath, the woman who cried on back porches and demolished decks like therapy and texted terrible puns at 2 a.m. He loved both versions of her, the polished exterior and the messy interior, all of it. The realization hit him with the force of a physical blow. He was in love with her, completely, irrevocably in love with a woman he'd known for less than a month. A woman still married to someone else, still navigating the wreckage of her old life, still figuring out who she was outside of that relationship. It was too soon, too fast, too complicated, and it was absolutely true. Noah sat back down, his coffee forgotten, trying to process this new reality. He'd loved Emma. That was different, built over years of friendship that evolved into romance, solidified through marriage and becoming parents together. That love had been steady, expected, the natural progression of two people building a life. This was something else entirely. Wild and unexpected and probably unwise, but no less real. His phone buzzed 3 hours later. Vivian, done, coming down. She emerged from the elevator looking shell-shocked. Noah was on his feet immediately, searching her face for clues. We settled, she said quietly. That's good, right? Yeah, it's done. Or it will be, once the paperwork is filed. 6 to 8 weeks for everything to be finalized, but the negotiation is over. She swayed slightly and Noah caught her elbow. I think I need to sit down. He guided her back to the table, noticing the way her hands trembled as she pulled out her phone to text someone, probably her lawyer or Marcus. "Are you okay?" Noah asked. "I don't know. I thought I'd feel relieved, but mostly I just feel numb." She looked up at him. "It's really over. 5 years of my life, just done, dissolved into legal documents and financial settlements. Do you regret it? The divorce?" "No, never. She paused, searching for words. "I thought the hard part would be making the decision to leave, but it turns out the hard part is accepting that I was wrong about him, that the man I married never really existed. It was just a role he was playing until he got bored with the performance." Noah pulled his chair closer, taking both her hands in his. "His failure to see your worth doesn't diminish your worth. You know that, right?" "Intellectually, yes. Emotionally." She smiled sadly. "I'm working on it." "That's all anyone can do. Work on it." He squeezed her hands. "What do you need right now?" Vivian was quiet for a moment, then said something that surprised him. "I want to see where you live. Your real life, not just the weekends at Marcus's house. I want to see your workshop and your neighborhood and understand the world you've built." "Now? Is that crazy? I know you have Jamie. He's with my mom until dinner. We have a few hours." Noah checked his watch. "It's a bit of a drive." "I don't care. I need to be somewhere real. Somewhere that isn't lawyers and settlements and the wreckage of my marriage." They took Noah's truck, Vivian looking slightly out of place in her expensive suit climbing into the worn passenger seat. But she buckled in without complaint, kicked off her heels, and curled her feet under her like she belonged there. The drive back to Connecticut was quiet at first, Vivian staring out the window as Manhattan gave way to suburbs, then smaller towns, then the working-class neighborhood where Noah had built his life. He pointed out landmarks as they drove. The elementary school where Jamie went to kindergarten, the diner where he got breakfast on Saturday mornings, the hardware store that knew him by name. "This is home," he said as they pulled into his driveway. The house was small, a 2-bedroom bungalow he'd bought as a fixer-upper right before Jamie was born. He'd spent 3 years slowly renovating it around the demands of work and single parenthood. New roof, updated kitchen, refinished floors. It was modest, but it was his. Vivian climbed out of the truck slowly, taking in the neighborhood, neat yards, older homes, the kind of place where people knew their neighbors and kids rode bikes in the street. "It's perfect," she said softly. "It's small. It's a home. There's a difference." Noah unlocked the front door, suddenly hyper-aware of the toys scattered across the living room floor, the crayon drawings stuck to the refrigerator with magnets, the general chaos of life with a 5-year-old. But Vivian moved through the space with genuine interest, examining the photos on the walls. Noah and Jamie at the beach, Emma's college graduation photo that Noah kept for his son's sake, his parents on their 40th anniversary. "Is this her?" Vivian asked, pausing at Emma's picture. "Yeah, that was right before we got married. She was beautiful." "She was. Kind, too. Patient. She would have liked you." Vivian looked at him questioningly. "Emma always said I needed someone who'd challenge me, push me to be better. She'd appreciate that about you. I'm not trying to replace her." "I know, and that's not what this is." Noah moved to stand beside her. "Emma was my past, an important part of who I am, but past nonetheless. You're—" he paused. "You're something else entirely." Vivian turned to face him. "What am I, Noah?" He could have deflected, could have made a joke, could have kept his cards closer to his chest, but he'd promised honesty. "You're my future. You want to be." Her breath caught. "Even though my divorce isn't final? Even though my life is a mess and I don't know what I'm doing half the time? Especially because of all that. I don't want the polished version you show the world. I want the real you, messy and uncertain and figuring it out as you go. That's the woman I'm falling for." "Falling for?" Vivian repeated softly. "Not already fallen?" "Okay, fine. Already fallen. Completely, stupidly fallen for you." She kissed him then, different from their previous kisses. This one was deeper, more urgent, carrying weeks of building tension and the weight of everything they'd been holding back. Noah's hands found her waist, pulling her closer, and Vivian's fingers tangled in his hair. They broke apart, breathing hard, foreheads pressed together. "I love you," Vivian whispered. "I know it's too soon and too fast, and I should probably wait until my therapist says I'm emotionally ready, but I love you." Noah's heart felt like it might explode. "I love you too." "This is crazy, right? We barely know each other." "We know each other better than you think, and yeah, it's crazy, but the best things usually are." They stood in Noah's living room, holding each other, letting the enormity of what they'd just admitted settle around them. Through the window, Noah could see his neighbor Mrs. Chen gardening, could hear kids playing somewhere down the street, could smell the familiar scent of his own home mixed with Vivian's perfume. Two worlds colliding, somehow fitting together despite all logic. "Show me your workshop," Vivian said eventually. Noah led her out back to the converted garage where he kept his tools and worked on smaller projects. Sawdust covered every surface, the air thick with the smell of wood and varnish. Half-finished pieces occupied every available space: a rocking chair for a client's nursery, custom shelving for a home office, a small desk he was building for Jamie's upcoming birthday. Vivian moved through the space with reverence, running her fingers along smooth wood grain, examining joints and finishes with genuine interest. "You made all this?" "Yeah, it's not glamorous, but it's honest work. It's beautiful work. You create things that last, that people use and love and pass down. That's not glamorous. That's legacy." Noah watched her examine the small desk, noticing the care he'd taken with rounded edges and a lower height perfect for a child. "Is this for Jamie? His birthday's next week. I wanted to give him something that would grow with him. A place to do homework, draw pictures, eventually write college essays if I'm lucky. He's gonna love it." "I hope so. I'm not great at a lot of parenting stuff, but I can build things. It's the one area where I feel competent." Vivian turned to face him. "Noah, you're raising a happy, healthy kid by yourself. You're more than competent. You're extraordinary." "I just do what needs to be done." "That's what makes it extraordinary." She moved closer. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "What happens now? After today, after we've said all this out loud, what does this look like in the real world?" Noah had been thinking about that question for days. "I think we take it one step at a time. Your divorce gets finalized. You figure out where you want to live, what you want to do next. Meanwhile, I keep doing what I'm doing, raising Jamie, running my business. We see each other when we can, we keep talking, we let this develop naturally." "And Jamie? When do I meet him?" "Soon, but I want to be careful about that. He's already lost one parent. I need to be sure before I introduce someone new into his life." "I understand. I want to be sure too, for his sake and ours." "But Vivian?" Noah took her hands. "I'm sure about you, about us. I just need to do this right for my son." "That's exactly what a good father should say." She smiled. "I can wait. I'm not going anywhere." They heard a car pull up outside, Noah's mother dropping Jamie home earlier than expected. Through the window, he could see his son bounding toward the house, backpack bouncing. "That's him," Noah said, suddenly nervous. "You don't have to meet him now if you're not ready." "I want to, just as your friend, nothing more." "Is that okay?" Before Noah could answer, Jamie burst through the back door. "Daddy, Grandma said you were home and we made cookies and I saved you 3, but I ate one on the way, so now it's 2, but they're really good." Noah caught his son in a hug, breathing in the familiar scent of playground and chocolate chips. "2 cookies sounds perfect, buddy." Jamie pulled back, noticing Vivian for the first time. "Who's that?" "This is Vivian. She's Uncle Marcus's sister." "Vivian, this is Jamie." "Hi, Jamie," Vivian said, crouching down to his level. "Your dad's told me a lot about you." Jamie studied her with the intense scrutiny only 5-year-olds could manage. "Are you Daddy's girlfriend?" Noah felt his face heat. "Jamie, it's okay," Vivian said, her eyes meeting Noah's with amused understanding before returning to Jamie. "Right now, I'm your dad's friend. Is that okay?" "I guess. Do you like dinosaurs?" "I think dinosaurs are very cool." "What's your favorite?" Maybe the Brachiosaurus. They were really tall and could eat from the tops of trees." Jamie's face lit up. "That's a good dinosaur. Not as good as Velociraptor, but still really good. Do you want to see my dinosaur books?" "I would love to see your dinosaur books." Noah watched, something warm spreading through his chest, as his son grabbed Vivian's hand and dragged her inside to his room, chattering nonstop about prehistoric creatures and the paleontologist who was coming to his birthday party. His mother appeared in the doorway, giving Noah a knowing look. "So that's her," she said. "Yeah, Ma, that's her." "She's good with him." "Yeah. And you love her?" It wasn't a question. Noah nodded anyway. "Yeah, I do." His mother patted his cheek. "Then don't screw it up. Women like that don't come along every day." "I know." "And Noah? Emma would want you to be happy. You know that, right?" The unexpected mention of his late wife hit harder than expected. "I think about that sometimes, whether she'd be okay with this." "She'd be thrilled. That girl loved you more than anything, and the one thing she'd want is for you to live fully. Not just survive, but live." Noah hugged his mother, grateful for her wisdom and matter-of-fact approach to complicated emotions. From Jamie's room came the sound of laughter, his son's bright giggle mixed with Vivian's warmer tones. They were reading together, Jamie's voice attempting the complicated dinosaur names while Vivian offered gentle corrections. "I should go rescue her," Noah said. "I don't think she needs rescuing, but you should definitely join them." He found them on Jamie's bedroom floor, surrounded by books and toy dinosaurs. Vivian listening with apparent genuine interest as Jamie explained the differences between herbivores and carnivores. "Daddy," Jamie called when he noticed Noah in the doorway. "Vivian knows about the meteorite that killed all the dinosaurs. She's really smart." "She is really smart," Noah agreed, settling onto the floor beside them. They spent the next hour in that space, reading books, building elaborate dinosaur scenarios with Jamie's toys, listening to a 5-year-old's endless stream of consciousness about prehistoric life. Vivian never once seemed bored or patronizing. She asked questions, laughed at Jamie's jokes, and treated him like a person whose thoughts mattered. Eventually, Jamie's energy started to flag, the excitement of the day catching up with him. "Buddy, why don't you go wash up for dinner?" Noah suggested. "But I'm not tired." "I didn't say you were tired. I said wash up for dinner." "Oh, okay." Jamie scrambled to his feet, then turned to Vivian. "Are you staying for dinner?" Vivian glanced at Noah, who nodded slightly. "If that's okay with you and your dad," she said. "It's very okay. We're having spaghetti, and Daddy makes really good sauce." After Jamie disappeared into the bathroom, Vivian sat back against Jamie's bed, looking slightly dazed. "He's wonderful," she said softly. "He's a lot. He's perfect. Exhausting, but perfect." Noah helped her to her feet. "You were great with him. I was terrified the entire time." "You hit it well." He paused. "This morning you were in a mediation settling your divorce. Tonight you're reading dinosaur books with my kid. That's a hell of a day." "The best day I've had in months, honestly." Vivian smiled. "The mediation sucked, but everything after, you being there, seeing your home, meeting Jamie, that was real. That was life actually being lived, not just endured." They made dinner together while Jamie helped by providing detailed commentary on every step of the process. Vivian chopped vegetables while Noah handled the sauce, and somehow it felt like they'd done this 100 times before. Easy, natural, right. Over spaghetti, Jamie dominated the conversation, telling Vivian about kindergarten and his best friend Marcus Jr., who was named after Uncle Marcus, and how his teacher had a really cool fish tank. Vivian listened attentively, asking follow-up questions that made Jamie beam with importance. After dinner, Noah put Jamie to bed while Vivian cleaned up the kitchen, her insistence, waving away his protests. When he came back downstairs, she was standing at the sink, looking completely out of place in her expensive suit, but somehow perfectly at home anyway. "He wanted me to tell you good night," Noah said. "He's a special kid." "He asked if you were coming to his birthday party." Vivian turned. "What did you say?" "That I'd ask you. No pressure, but if you're comfortable with it, I'd love to come. If you're sure." "I'm sure." Noah crossed to her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Today was a lot. How are you really doing?" Vivian leaned into him, emotionally exhausted, overwhelmed, but also happy? Is that weird? My divorce settlement happened today, and all I can think about is how right it felt to be here with you and Jamie. Not weird. Or if it is, we're both weird together. I should probably go soon. It's getting late and I have a 2-hour drive back to Marcus's. Or, Noah said carefully. You could stay. Guest room, no expectations. I just don't love the idea of you driving that far when you're exhausted. Are you sure? Positive. I'll even lend you something to sleep in that isn't a designer suit. Vivian laughed. Okay, thank you. Noah set her up in the guest room, really just a spare room with a bed and boxes of stuff he hadn't found homes for yet. He gave her an old t-shirt and sweatpants that she had to roll up several times, and tried not to think about how good she looked in his clothes. They stood in the hallway between their rooms, neither quite ready to say goodnight. Thank you, Vivian said. For today. For all of it. You don't have to thank me. I do, though. You drove 2 hours just to sit in a lobby. You let me into your home, introduced me to your son, made me dinner. You gave me a glimpse of what life could be like, and it's better than anything I imagined. Noah cupped her face in his hands. This is just the beginning, you know. The divorce still has to finalize. We still have to figure out logistics. Tell Marcus. Navigate all the complicated reality of this. I know, but Noah... She covered his hands with hers. I meant what I said earlier. I love you, and I'm not going anywhere. I love you too. So much it scares me sometimes. Good scared or bad scared? Good scared. The kind that means something matters. He kissed her goodnight, soft and sweet, then forced himself to step back and go to his own room. Lying in bed, Noah could hear the old house settling, could sense Vivian just down the hall, could feel the shape of his life shifting to accommodate this new reality. His phone buzzed. A text from Vivian. Can't sleep. Too much in my head. Same. What are you thinking about? How different today was from how I expected. I thought I'd feel triumphant or vindicated or something after the settlement. Instead, I just feel like I shed a skin I was never meant to wear. Is that a good thing? Yeah, scary, but good. Like I can finally breathe properly. I'm glad. What are you thinking about? Noah considered how honest to be, then remembered their promise. You. Us. How fast this happened and how right it feels anyway. Too fast? No. Just fast. But Emma used to say that when you know, you know. I thought that was romantic nonsense until I met you. I never believed in love at first sight. Thought it was something from movies. But then I saw you on that deck, and something just clicked into place. We're doing this, right? Really doing this? Yeah, we're really doing this. They texted until after midnight, the conversation drifting from heavy to light and back again. Eventually, Vivian sent, I should let you sleep. Big day tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Friday. Normal life. You have work. I have to deal with post-settlement paperwork, and we both have to pretend we didn't just upend our entire existences. Noah smiled. Think we can pull it off? Not even a little bit, but it'll be fun trying. Good night, Vivian. I love you. I love you too. Sweet dreams. Noah set his phone aside, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything that had happened in the span of one day. This morning, he'd been a single father and small business owner whose life ran on careful routine. Tonight, he was in love with a woman who was everything he'd never thought to look for and exactly what he needed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, telling Marcus, navigating the next 6 weeks until Vivian's divorce was final. Figuring out how to blend their vastly different worlds into something that worked for both of them, and most importantly, for Jamie. But tonight, lying in his house with the woman he loved sleeping down the hall, and his son safe in the next room, Noah felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Complete. Not just surviving anymore, but actually living, building something new from the foundation of who he'd been and who he was becoming. And for the first time since Emma died, the future looked not just bearable, but bright. Morning came too early and not early enough. Noah woke to the sound of Jamie's footsteps thundering down the hallway, his son's voice carrying through the house in a stage whisper that was somehow louder than normal volume. Daddy, is Vivian still here? Can I wake her up? I want to show her my rock collection. Noah intercepted his son before he could barrel into the guest room. Buddy, let's let her sleep a little longer, okay? How about you and I make breakfast? Jamie's face scrunched in thought. Can we make pancakes? The ones with the chocolate chips? Sure, but quietly, like ninjas making pancakes. Ninja pancakes, Jamie whisper shouted, which defeated the entire purpose, but at least showed effort. They crept downstairs together, Jamie taking his ninja mission very seriously by walking on exaggerated tiptoes. Noah got him set up with a bowl and measuring cups, letting him help mix the batter while trying not to think about the woman sleeping in his guest room wearing his old college t-shirt. Except he was absolutely thinking about it. About how she'd looked last night with her hair down and face scrubbed clean of makeup, more beautiful in her vulnerability than any polished version she showed the world. About the way she'd laughed at Jamie's terrible knock-knock jokes and asked genuine questions about his dinosaur facts. About the fact that she'd said she loved him, and he'd said it back, and now they had to figure out what that meant in the harsh light of day. "Daddy, you're not listening," Jamie complained, tugging on his sleeve. "Sorry, bud. What did you say?" I said, "Do you think Vivian likes chocolate chip pancakes?" "What if she doesn't like chocolate? What if she's one of those people who doesn't like chocolate and we made the wrong breakfast?" Noah smiled, recognizing his own anxiety reflected in his son's rambling. "I think she'll love whatever we make. And if she doesn't like chocolate, she can pick them out." "That's silly. Why would anyone not like chocolate?" "Good question." They were flipping the third batch when Vivian appeared in the kitchen doorway, looking sleep-rumpled and soft in Noah's oversized clothes. Her hair was tangled, there were pillow creases on her cheek, and Noah thought she'd never looked more perfect. "Good morning," she said, her voice still rough with sleep. "Vivian, we made ninja pancakes," Jamie announced proudly, abandoning all pretense of quiet. "Ninja pancakes? That sounds very impressive. They have chocolate chips, and we were super quiet making them. Except Daddy dropped a spoon and I laughed really loud, but mostly we were quiet like ninjas." Vivian's eyes met Noah's over Jamie's head, sparkling with amusement. "Well, I'm honored to eat ninja pancakes. Thank you for letting me sleep." "Coffee?" Noah offered, already reaching for a mug. "Please. I don't think I'm fully conscious yet." They ate breakfast together at Noah's small kitchen table, Jamie providing running commentary on everything from the quality of the pancakes to the bird he could see through the window to his upcoming birthday party. Vivian listened with apparent genuine interest, asking questions and laughing in all the right places. Noah watched them interact, something warm and terrifying settling in his chest. This could be his life. This easy domesticity, these quiet morning moments, this blending of his world with someone who fit into it so naturally, it scared him. After breakfast, Vivian reluctantly said she needed to get back to Marcus's house, deal with the mountain of post-mediation paperwork, and change into something other than Noah's clothes. "Though I'm keeping these," she said, gesturing to the sweatpants. "They're extremely comfortable, and I'm claiming them as girlfriend privileges." "Girlfriend privileges," Noah repeated, acutely aware of Jamie playing with his dinosaurs in the next room. "Is that what we're calling it? Unless you have a better term, because woman I'm falling in love with while she navigates a messy divorce doesn't exactly roll off the tongue." "Girlfriend works," Noah said, pulling her close. "But we should probably tell Marcus soon before he figures it out on his own." Vivian groaned. "He's going to be weird about it." "Definitely. And protective." "Absolutely. And probably try to give us both the talk about not hurting each other." "Without question." Noah kissed her forehead. "But he'll also be happy for us. Eventually, after the initial shock wears off." "When do you want to tell him?" "This weekend? Jamie's party is Saturday. Maybe Sunday when things calm down?" Vivian nodded. "Okay, Sunday. We'll tell him together. Hell." She gathered her things while Noah walked her to her car, the sleek Tesla that looked absurdly out of place on his street. Neighbors were definitely going to talk. Mrs. Chen was already peering through her curtains with unconcealed interest. "I'll see you tomorrow?" Vivian asked. "At the party?" 2:00. Fair warning, it's going to be chaos. 20 kindergartners hopped up on sugar and a paleontologist who takes his job very seriously. "I can handle chaos. I ran a startup, remember? This is a different kind of chaos." Vivian kissed him, soft and sweet, then whispered against his lips, "I love you. Even your chaotic dinosaur parties." "I love you too. Drive safe." He watched her pull away, then turned to find Jamie standing in the doorway, clutching his favorite Triceratops. "Daddy, is Vivian your girlfriend?" Noah took a breath. Here it was, the moment he'd been both anticipating and dreading. "Yeah, buddy, she is. Is that okay with you?" Jamie considered this seriously. "Does that mean she's going to be around a lot?" "Maybe, if that's okay with you." Will she come to more dinners and read more dinosaur books? Probably. Okay, that's good then. Jamie paused. Is she going to be my new mommy? Noah's heart clenched. No, bud. You had a mommy, and nobody can replace her. Vivian is different. She's someone who cares about both of us and wants to spend time with us. But she could be like an extra person who loves me, like Grandma and Grandpa, but different. Yeah, exactly like that. Jamie seemed to find this acceptable and wandered back inside to his dinosaurs, apparently unbothered by the significant shift in his father's romantic life. Noah wished he could handle change with such 5-year-old flexibility. The rest of the day passed in a blur of final party preparations. Noah finished the custom desk for Jamie, wrapped it carefully, and hid it in his workshop. His mother came by with decorations, tutting over the state of his house, and cleaning things that didn't need cleaning while offering pointed comments about the expensive car she'd seen leaving that morning. Ma, don't start. I'm not starting anything. I'm just observing. Your observations have a tone. My observations have concern. You're moving fast with this woman. I know. And Jamie's already getting attached. I know that too. His mother softened, patting his cheek. But I also see how you look at her, like she hung the moon. I haven't seen you look at anyone like that since Emma. Is that a bad thing? No, honey. It's a beautiful thing. Just be careful with both your hearts, yours and Jamie's. I will, I promise. Saturday arrived with perfect autumn weather, crisp and sunny, ideal for an outdoor party. Noah's small backyard filled up quickly with kindergartners and their parents, the rented bounce house immediately becoming the center of attention. The paleontologist, a surprisingly young woman named Dr. Sarah Chen, set up her educational display with the seriousness of someone presenting to a room of academics rather than 5-year-olds. Noah was orchestrating controlled chaos, keeping kids from fighting over the bounce house, making sure everyone had cake, fielding questions from parents when he saw Vivian arrive. She'd dressed down for the occasion in jeans and a simple sweater, but she still looked polished in a way that made the other parents take notice. Noah saw the speculation in their eyes, the whispered questions about who this beautiful stranger was and why she was at his son's birthday party. Marcus had arrived earlier, immediately diving into Uncle Duty's with his usual enthusiasm. He was currently in the bounce house with a half-dozen screaming children, completely oblivious to his sister's arrival. Vivian made her way through the crowd, carrying a carefully wrapped present that was definitely too elegant for a 5-year-old's party. Hi, she said when she reached Noah. Hi yourself, you made it. I told you I would. She glanced around at the controlled chaos. This is amazing. You did all this? Me and my mother, and sheer determination. Noah gestured to the food table. Help yourself to whatever. Fair warning, the fruit punch is 90% sugar. My favorite percentage. She fit in seamlessly, helping wrangle kids for the paleontologist's presentation, laughing at terrible dinosaur jokes, genuinely engaging with the other parents who approached her with curious questions. Noah watched her crouch down to Jamie's level when he dragged her over to show off his new toys, saw the way she listened with complete attention as he explained the difference between a Tyrannosaurus and an Allosaurus. His mother noticed too, sidling up to him with a knowing look. She's good with him. Yeah. And the way she looks at you, that's real, Noah. I know, Ma. Then stop looking so worried and go enjoy your son's party. The gift opening came after cake, Jamie ripping through wrapping paper with the destructive enthusiasm only children possessed. He loved everything. New dinosaur books, art supplies, a remote control car that Marcus immediately tried to commandeer. But when he got to the small desk Noah had built, his entire face lit up. Daddy, you made this for me? For you, buddy. Your own desk for homework and drawing and whatever else you need. Jamie threw himself at Noah with the kind of full-body hug that made every sleepless night and careful measurement worthwhile. It's the best present ever. Can we set it up in my room right now? After the party, okay? Okay! Jamie turned to Vivian, who'd been watching with suspiciously bright eyes. Did you see my desk? Daddy made it. I saw. It's beautiful. Your dad is very talented. I know. He can build anything. As the party wound down and parents collected their sugar-crashed children, Marcus finally cornered Noah by the beverage table. Great party, man. Jamie's having the time of his life. He paused. So Vivian came. Yeah, she really likes Jamie. He really likes her too. Marcus studied his friend. Is there something you want to tell me? Noah's stomach dropped. What do you mean? Come on, Noah, I'm not blind. The way you two keep looking at each other, the fact that she drove an hour to come to a kid's birthday party, the way she's wearing your old college sweatshirt, yeah, I noticed that detail. Marcus, are you dating my sister? There it was, the question Noah had been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. Can we talk about this tomorrow, when things are calmer? Marcus's expression was unreadable. Tomorrow, your place. And Noah, he paused. I'm not mad. I'm just surprised you didn't tell me sooner. After the last guest left, Noah collapsed on his back porch while his mother supervised Jamie's cleanup of the backyard. Vivian found him there, settling beside him with a tired sigh. That was exhausting, she said. Welcome to children's birthday parties. I loved every minute of it. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Jamie was so happy. You're a really good dad, you know that? I try. You succeed. She paused. Marcus knows, doesn't he? He figured it out, wants to talk tomorrow. Are you worried? A little. He's protective of you. He's protective of you too. You're his best friend. Vivian took Noah's hand. It's going to be fine. He might give us some grief, but ultimately he wants us both to be happy. I hope you're right. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the October sun sink lower in the sky, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. Can I tell you something? Vivian said quietly. Always. When I was married to Bradley, I used to imagine what it would be like to have kids. We talked about it in abstract terms, but he always wanted to wait, and I convinced myself that was fine, that we had time. But watching you with Jamie today, seeing how much love you put into every moment with him, I realized what I was missing. Not just children, but this kind of present, engaged, wholehearted parenting. Noah squeezed her hand. You'd be a great mom. You think so? I know so. You're patient, kind, genuinely interested in what kids have to say. Jamie adores you, and he's a pretty good judge of character. I adore him too. Vivian turned to look at Noah. Is it crazy that I'm already thinking about futures, about what it might be like if this thing between us becomes permanent? If that's crazy, then I'm crazy too, because I think about it constantly. What do you think about? Noah considered how honest to be, then decided honesty was the only option. I think about weekend mornings where you're here more often than not. About teaching Jamie to call you by your name, but knowing you're someone important in his life. About building you that desk you mentioned wanting for your new apartment. About maybe, eventually if things keep going the way they are, making this permanent. Permanent, Vivian repeated softly. Like marriage? Eventually, if you wanted that. I'm not proposing right now. It's way too soon and you're still technically married to someone else. But yeah, I can see a future where that's where this heads. Vivian kissed him, deep and slow, pouring everything she couldn't say into the connection. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, she rested her forehead against his. I want that too, she whispered. All of it. The weekend mornings and the permanence and the building a life together. I know it's fast and probably not what my therapist would advise, but I've never been more sure of anything. Your divorce finalizes in 6 weeks, Noah said, and then we figure out the next steps. Where you want to live, how to blend our lives, when to make things more official. I've been looking at apartments in town. Nothing definite yet, but I want to be close. To you and Jamie and this life you've built. You'd really move here? Give up Manhattan and the penthouse and all that? In a heartbeat. That was never my life, Noah. That was Bradley's life that I got absorbed into. She gestured around at his modest backyard, his small house, the evidence of a party thrown with love rather than money. This is real. This is what I want. They were interrupted by Jamie calling from inside, wanting help setting up his new desk. Noah and Vivian went inside together, and for the next hour they worked as a team. Noah handling the assembly while Vivian entertained Jamie with stories and Vivian organizing the desk supplies they'd bought. Later, after Jamie was bathed and storied and tucked into bed, after Noah's mother had left with pointed comments about how well Vivian fit into their household, they found themselves alone on the couch. I should go, Vivian said, making no move to actually leave. You could stay again. If you want. Won't the neighbors talk? They're already talking. Mrs. Chen has probably started a phone tree. Vivian laughed. Small town life. Is it too much? The lack of privacy, the scrutiny? No, it's different from what I'm used to, but I like it. I like being somewhere where people care enough to be nosy, where communities actually exist instead of everyone living in anonymous luxury. She stayed again that night, and they fell into an easy routine. Noah showing her how to work his temperamental coffee maker, both of them making breakfast for Jamie, Vivian helping pick out the kids' clothes for Sunday, while Noah packed his work bag for Monday. It felt domestic and comfortable and absolutely terrifying in how right it all was. Marcus arrived at noon, as promised, looking uncharacteristically serious. Noah sent Jamie to play in his room, set out coffee, and prepared for a conversation that could either go very well or very badly. So, Marcus said, settling into a chair, how long has this been going on? Depends on how you define going on, Noah started. Don't lawyer me, man. How long have you been into my sister? Since that first weekend at your place, Noah admitted. But we didn't act on anything until recently, after her mediation. She's still married, separated and settled. The divorce finalizes in 6 weeks. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Are you serious about her? Because Vivian's been through hell with Bradley, and if you're just... I love her, Noah interrupted. I'm completely in love with her. And I know the timing is weird, and it happened fast, but it's real, Marcus. This isn't casual or a rebound or whatever you're worried about. And Jamie? You've introduced her to your son? Yeah, they get along great. He likes her. Of course he likes her. She's smart and funny and pays attention to him. But Noah, you have to think about what happens if this doesn't work out. If she decides small-town Connecticut isn't for her, or she gets bored, or what? I spend the rest of my life protecting Jamie from every possible hurt? That's not living, Marcus. That's hiding. Marcus sighed. I'm not trying to be a dick here. You're my best friend, and Vivian's my sister, and I love you both. The idea of you two together should make me happy. And part of me is happy, but I'm also terrified you're going to hurt each other. We might, Noah said honestly. There's no guarantee this works long term. But Marcus, she makes me happy. Happier than I've been in years. And I think I make her happy too. Isn't that worth the risk? Before Marcus could answer, Vivian appeared in the doorway, still wearing Noah's sweatpants and looking determined. I can answer that, she said. And yes, it's worth the risk. Marcus, I know you're worried, and I love that you care enough to worry. But Noah is the best thing that's happened to me in years. He's kind and genuine and sees me for who I am, not who I'm supposed to be. I'm not going to get bored or run away or hurt him. I'm all in on this. Marcus looked between them, seeing the way they instinctively moved toward each other, the unconscious synchronicity of two people already functioning as a unit. Okay, he said finally. Okay. If you're both sure about this, then I'm not going to stand in your way. But I swear, if either of you hurts the other, I'm going to be pissed at both of you. Fair enough, Noah said. And you have to promise not to be weird around me when you're doing couple stuff. No excessive PDA at my house. We'll try to contain ourselves, Vivian said dryly. Marcus stood, pulling them both into an awkward group hug. I'm happy for you, really. It's weird as hell, but I'm happy. After Marcus left, Noah and Vivian collapsed on the couch in relief. That went better than expected, Noah said. He took it pretty well. I thought there might be more protective brother posturing. Give him time. The posturing will come. Vivian curled into Noah's side, fitting there like she'd been designed for that exact space. So now what? We've told Marcus, Jamie knows you have a girlfriend. The neighbors are already gossiping. We're officially out in the open. Now we keep doing what we've been doing, taking it one day at a time, building something real, figuring out the logistics as we go. I signed a lease on an apartment yesterday, Vivian said. In town, about 15 minutes from here. 2 bedrooms, lots of natural light, close to good schools in case... She stopped. I'm getting ahead of myself. In case of what? In case this becomes more permanent. In case we decide to blend our families more officially. Noah's heart kicked in his chest. You're thinking about the future. All the time. I can't help it. She looked up at him. Is that too much? Too fast? No, because I'm thinking about it too. He kissed her softly. When does your lease start? 2 weeks, right after my divorce is final. Good timing. I thought so. Vivian paused. Noah, can I ask you something? Anything. When you imagine our future together, what does it look like, specifically? Noah took a moment to really consider the question. I see you living close enough that sleepovers become normal, expected. I see Jamie having a desk to do homework at your place, and you having a key to this house. I see holidays together, birthday parties, regular dinners where we don't have to plan them, because that's just what we do. I see us figuring out how to navigate my business and whatever you decide to do next. And eventually, maybe a year or two down the road, I see us making it official, getting married, combining households, building a life that's completely ours. You've really thought about this. Have you? Yeah. And it looks a lot like what you just described. She smiled. Maybe with slightly better furniture, because, no offense, but your couch is terrible. Noah laughed. It's a terrible couch. Very uncomfortable. We'll get a new one for the combined household that happens in a year or two. Planning already? Someone has to. You're good at building things, but I'm good at planning them. They spent the rest of Sunday in that space, half planning, half dreaming, fully present in the reality of what they were building together. Jamie joined them eventually, wanting to play a game, and they spread out on the terrible couch playing Candyland and laughing at nothing in particular. This was what Noah had thought he'd lost forever when Emma died. Not the specific shape of it, but the feeling, the warmth of family, the ease of companionship, the sense that life was more than just survival. He'd been wrong to think it was gone forever. It had just been waiting for the right person to bring it back. That night, after Vivian had left and Jamie was asleep, Noah stood in his small house and let himself feel the full weight of what was happening. He was in love with Vivian Hale. She was in love with him. They were building a future together despite all logic and reason suggesting they should slow down, be careful, protect themselves from potential hurt. But sometimes the best things in life required risk, required faith, required believing that despite the odds, despite the complications, despite the 1,000 ways it could go wrong, sometimes it went spectacularly right. His phone buzzed. A text from Vivian. Home safe. Already missing you and your terrible couch. Missing you too. Even though you insulted my furniture, I insulted it with love. There's a difference. Fair point. What are you doing this week? Finalizing the apartment lease, meeting with my financial advisor about the post-divorce portfolio restructuring, looking at options for the foundation I want to start. The usual post-marriage chaos. Want company for any of it? All of it. But you have work, and Jamie has school, and we can't spend every minute together even though I want to. Weekend, then. You can start moving into your new place and I'll help. You're going to help me move? That's what boyfriends do. There was a long pause. Then, I love you, Noah Carter. I love you too, Vivian Hale. Soon to be Vivian Hale again, officially. No more Whitmore. Good. Whitmore never suited you anyway. How do you think Carter sounds? Noah's breath caught. Are you asking what I think you're asking? No. Not yet. Just trying it out in my head. Vivian Carter. It has a nice ring to it. It has a perfect ring to it. Someday? Definitely someday. Noah went to bed that night with a smile on his face and hope in his heart. 6 weeks until Vivian's divorce was final. 6 weeks until they could stop qualifying their relationship with words like technically and almost. Is 6 weeks until they could start planning a future without the shadow of her past hanging over them. It felt like both an eternity and no time at all. But Noah had learned patience the hard way. He'd learned that good things took time, that foundations needed to be solid before you built on them, that rushing led to cracks that might not show until it was too late. So he'd wait. They both would. And in the meantime, they'd keep doing what they'd been doing, building something real, one day at a time, one honest conversation at a time, one shared moment at a time. Until someday became today, and the future they were imagining became the present they were living. It was enough, more than enough. It was everything. The 6 weeks between Vivian's settlement and her divorce finalization passed in a strange rhythm, simultaneously crawling and racing, each day feeling both endless and too short. Noah fell into a pattern he hadn't experienced since Emma was alive, structuring his life around someone else's presence, making space for another person in the carefully constructed routine he'd built for himself and Jamie. Vivian moved into her new apartment 3 weeks before the divorce was final, and Noah kept his promise to help. He showed up on a Saturday morning with his truck, Jamie in tow, ready to haul boxes and assemble furniture. What he found was a sleek two-bedroom in a renovated historic building, all exposed brick and hardwood floors, with windows that let in floods of natural light. "It's beautiful," he said, standing in the empty living room while Jamie immediately began exploring every corner. "It's mine," Vivian said, and there was wonder in her voice. "Not Bradley's family property, not a hotel room, not my brother's guest room. Mine." "How does it feel?" "Terrifying, liberating, like I'm 18 again and moving into my first dorm room, except with significantly better credit and worse emotional baggage." Jamie came running back at, "Vivian, you have 2 bathrooms. That's so many bathrooms." "I know. Isn't it excessive?" "What's excessive mean?" "It means maybe more than I need," Vivian explained, crouching to his level. "But sometimes it's nice to have extra space. Daddy says our house is small but cozy." "Your daddy's right. Cozy is good." They spent the day unpacking boxes, assembling furniture that came with incomprehensible instructions, and slowly transforming empty rooms into a home. Noah hung curtain rods while Vivian organized books. Jamie helped by providing commentary and arranging her throw pillows into elaborate forts. Marcus showed up around noon with pizza and unsolicited advice about furniture placement, immediately contradicting every decision they'd made. The 4 of them sat on the floor eating directly from boxes because Vivian's dining table hadn't been delivered yet, and Noah felt something settle in his chest. This was his family now, not replacing what he'd lost with Emma, but expanding what existed. Jamie between him and Vivian, Marcus sprawled across the new rug making terrible jokes, all of them together in the space that represented new beginnings. "You know what this place needs?" Marcus said through a mouthful of pepperoni. "Your opinion?" Vivian asked dryly. "A deck. Every good home needs a deck." Noah laughed. "Your sister lives on the 3rd floor." "A balcony then. Same principle." "There's a balcony. It came with the apartment." "Is it a good balcony? Does it need repairs? Because I know a guy who's excellent with wood." "Subtle," Noah said. "I'm just saying, if you wanted to build Vivian some custom balcony furniture, I wouldn't object." "Noted." Later, after Marcus left and Jamie had crashed on Vivian's new couch from the exhaustion of helping all day, Noah and Vivian stood on the small balcony looking out over the town. November had arrived with its usual gray chill, the trees now bare, winter threatening at the edges of every sunset. 3 more weeks, Vivian said quietly. Noah knew what she meant. 3 weeks until the divorce was final, until the last legal tie to Bradley Whitmore was severed, until she was completely free to move forward. "How are you feeling about it?" "Ready. So ready." She leaned into him. "My lawyer says there shouldn't be any surprises. The settlement's done, the paperwork's filed, it's just waiting for the judge's signature. And then it's over." "Any regrets?" "About the divorce?" "None." "About the marriage?" She paused. "I regret the time I wasted trying to make it work, but I don't regret the lessons. I learned what I don't want, what I won't accept, what I deserve." "And what do you deserve?" Vivian turned to face him. "Honesty. Respect. Someone who sees me as a partner, not an accessory. Someone who shows up consistently, not just when it's convenient." She touched his face. "Someone like you." Noah kissed her, soft and slow, pouring months of restrained wanting into the connection. When they broke apart, both breathing harder, he rested his forehead against hers. "I have something I want to ask you," he said. "Okay." "Not now. After the divorce is final. After you've had time to settle into this place and figure out your next steps. But I want you to know, I'm planning to ask you something important, so you have time to think about your answer." Vivian's eyes went wide. "Noah Carter, are you telling me you're going to propose?" "I'm telling you that I'm in love with you, that I want to build a life with you, and that when the time is right, when you're ready, I'm going to ask you to make it permanent." That's the least romantic proposal warning in history. It's not supposed to be romantic. It's supposed to be honest. He smiled. The actual proposal will be romantic, I promise. I'm holding you to that. They stood on the balcony until the November cold drove them inside, where Jamie was still sleeping and the apartment was still full of boxes but starting to feel like a home. Noah carried his son to the truck while Vivian walked them out, and the goodbye felt different than previous ones. Less like an ending, more like a pause. See you tomorrow? She asked. Sunday dinner at my place. My mom's coming. She wants to meet you properly. Meeting the parents, that's a big step. You've already met her. This is just more official. That's what makes it terrifying. Noah kissed her one more time. She's going to love you. How could she not? The dinner with Noah's mother went better than Vivian had feared and exactly as Noah had predicted. His mother, Patricia Carter, a force of nature in sensible shoes, took one look at Vivian and immediately started asking pointed questions about her intentions, her divorce timeline, and whether she understood what she was getting into dating a single father. Vivian answered honestly, holding her own against Patricia's scrutiny, and by the time dessert arrived, they were laughing together over embarrassing stories about Noah's teenage years. I like her, Patricia announced when Vivian excused herself to help Jamie with a puzzle in the next room. She's got spine. She'll need it dealing with you. Thanks, Ma. Very supportive. I am supportive. I'm also realistic. You're stubborn, Noah. You get an idea in your head about how things should be, and you don't bend easy. Emma knew how to work with that. Vivian seems like she will too. You really think so? His mother's expression softened. I think she loves you. Really loves you, not the idea of you or what you can give her, and I think you love her the same way. That's rare, honey. Don't overthink it. The days continued their strange march forward. Noah worked on projects, picked Jamie up from school, had dinner with Vivian 3 or 4 nights a week. She started consulting for an educational nonprofit, laying groundwork for the foundation she wanted to build. They fell into routines that felt both new and ancient, grocery shopping together on Sundays, Jamie's homework at Vivian's dining table, movie nights where Marcus inevitably fell asleep and they talked until midnight. 2 weeks before the divorce finalization, Vivian got a call from her lawyer. Noah was at her apartment when it happened, installing the custom bookshelf he'd built for her office. He heard her voice change, saw her face go pale, and immediately crossed to her side. What is it? He asked when she hung up. Bradley's contesting the settlement. Last minute. His lawyers filed an emergency motion claiming new evidence that I hid assets during the marriage. That's bullshit. Of course it's bullshit, but it delays everything. My lawyer says we'll have to go back to mediation, possibly court if he pushes it. Could be another 3 months, maybe 6. Noah watched her sink onto the couch, watched the weight of it settle on her shoulders. All the progress, all the moving forward, potentially stalled by a vindictive ex-husband's final power play. What do you need? He asked. I need him to just let me go. I need this to be over. I need... Her voice cracked. I'm so tired, Noah. I'm tired of fighting him, tired of lawyers, tired of my life being on hold while he plays games. Noah sat beside her, pulling her into his arms. Okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to call your lawyer back and tell her you want this handled aggressively. No more waiting, no more negotiating with someone who's shown he won't negotiate in good faith. You're going to fight back, and you're going to win because you have truth on your side and he has spite. What if it takes 6 months? Then it takes 6 months. I'm not going anywhere, Vivian. Whether this ends next week or next year, I'm still going to be here, still going to love you, still going to want to build a life with you. You promise? I promise. She called her lawyer back, voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks, and authorized whatever legal action was necessary to shut down Bradley's last desperate attempt at control. Then she let Noah hold her while she cried out the frustration and exhaustion of months of battle. Jamie found them like that when he came back from playing in Vivian's second bedroom that she'd slowly been converting into a space for him. Shelves for his books, a small desk, toys he'd left behind that she'd carefully organized. Why is Vivian sad? He asked Noah quietly. She's having a hard day, buddy. Jamie considered this, then climbed up on the couch and wrapped his small arms around Vivian's neck. It's okay to be sad. Daddy says sometimes we need to cry to feel better. Vivian laughed through her tears, hugging him back. Your daddy's very smart. I know, he builds things and he knows about feelings. A true Renaissance man, Vivian said, meeting Noah's eyes over Jamie's head. The love in her expression hit Noah with physical force. This woman, brilliant and strong and currently falling apart in his arms, while his 5-year-old offered comfort. This was everything. This was the life he wanted, the family he was choosing, the future worth fighting for. The emergency motion turned out to be exactly what Vivian's lawyer predicted, a desperate play with no legal foundation. Bradley's new evidence was easily disproven. The judge was not impressed with the last-minute theatrics, and within 2 weeks the motion was dismissed and the original settlement reinstated. The final court date was set for December 15th, a Thursday. Noah arranged his schedule to be there. Marcus took the day off work. Patricia insisted on watching Jamie. And when Vivian walked into that courtroom with her lawyer, Noah was in the gallery, exactly where he'd promised to be. The proceedings were anticlimactic. Legal formalities, the judge's pronouncement, paperwork signed and filed. Bradley wasn't even there, having his lawyer represent him in absentia, one final insult that Vivian barely noticed. Because when the judge declared the marriage dissolved, when the official words made her legally single again, Vivian turned around and locked eyes with Noah. He saw everything in her face: relief, grief, hope, fear, love. All the complicated emotions of ending one chapter and beginning another. They met in the hallway outside the courtroom, and Noah pulled her into his arms while she cried. Not sad tears, exactly. More like release. The final letting go of something that had been slowly poisoning her for years. "It's done," she whispered against his chest. "I'm free." "You're free," he confirmed. Marcus hugged her next, then her lawyer, then random courthouse staff who'd clearly been invested in the outcome. But Vivian kept returning to Noah, kept anchoring herself against him like he was the only solid thing in a spinning world. They went to lunch at a quiet restaurant, just the three of them, Noah, Vivian, and Marcus. They ordered champagne and toasted to new beginnings, to freedom, to the future. Marcus gave a rambling speech about his sister being the strongest person he knew and his best friend being the luckiest man alive. "To family," Marcus said, raising his glass. "However we define it." "To family," they echoed. After lunch, Marcus headed back to work with a knowing smile and instructions not to do anything he wouldn't do. Noah and Vivian sat in his truck in the restaurant parking lot, neither quite ready to return to normal life. "So," Vivian said, "I'm officially divorced. How does it feel?" "Like I can breathe for the first time in years." She turned to face him. "Noah, I know you said you wanted to wait, to give me time to settle and figure things out, but I don't need more time. I know what I want." Yeah, I want you. I want Jamie. I want this life we've been building together. I want to make it official and permanent and real." Noah's heart was pounding. "Vivian, I know this isn't how you plan to do this. I know you wanted to ask me properly, romantically, whenever you decided the time was right, but I need you to know, whenever you ask, the answer is yes. It's already yes." Noah had imagined this moment a dozen different ways, had planned a proposal for Christmas on the deck where they'd first met, with Jamie's blessing and a ring he'd already picked out. But sitting in his truck in a parking lot, Vivian looking at him with complete certainty, he realized the perfect moment wasn't something you planned, it was something you recognized when it arrived. He reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a small velvet box. Vivian's eyes went wide. "You have a ring? Now?" "I've had it for 3 weeks, been carrying it around waiting for the right moment." He opened the box, revealing a simple diamond solitaire on a platinum band. "Turns out the right moment is now." "Noah Carter, are you proposing to me in a parking lot?" "Vivian Hale, I absolutely am." He took her hand. "I love you. I love your brilliance and your strength and the way you read dinosaur books to my son. I love that you demolished a deck like therapy and that you cry during Pixar movies and that you're terrible at puns but keep trying anyway. I love who I am when I'm with you, more open, more hopeful, more alive. And I want to spend the rest of my life building something with you, something honest and lasting and real." Tears were streaming down Vivian's face. "Yes." "I didn't finish. I don't care. Yes, 1,000 times, yes." Noah slipped the ring on her finger, and it fit perfectly. Then he kissed her, right there in the parking lot of an Italian restaurant on a Thursday afternoon, while the December sun broke through winter clouds. When they finally broke apart, both laughing and crying, Vivian held up her hand to watch the diamond catch the light. "We're engaged," she said wonderingly. "We're engaged," Noah confirmed. "I'm going to be your wife, and I'm going to be your husband. Jamie's going to lose his mind. Marcus is going to give us so much grief about the parking lot proposal." "I don't care, it's perfect." She kissed him again. "You're perfect. I'm really not. You're perfect for me. That's all that matters." They drove to Noah's mother's house together to pick up Jamie, hands linked across the center console, both still processing the magnitude of what had just happened. Patricia took one look at the ring on Vivian's finger and burst into tears, pulling them both into fierce hugs while demanding to know every detail. Jamie was more concerned with whether this meant Vivian would be living with them. "Not right away," Noah explained. "But eventually, yeah, Vivian's going to be part of our family officially." "Like a stepmom?" "If that's okay with you." Jamie thought about this seriously. "Will she still read me dinosaur books?" "I'll read you all the dinosaur books you want," Vivian promised. "Okay. Then it's okay." He paused. "Can I call you Vivian, Mom?" Vivian's eyes filled with tears. "You can call me whatever you're comfortable with, sweetheart." "I think Vivian, Mom. Because you're Vivian, but also kind of like a mom, but not my real mom, because I had a real mom, but she's in heaven now. But you're here and you love Daddy, and you love me too, right?" "I love you very much." "Then Vivian, Mom. That's what I'll call you." Noah watched this exchange with a lump in his throat, watching his son and his fiancée. His fiancée, that would take getting used to, navigate new territory with grace and honesty. They told Marcus that evening over dinner at Vivian's apartment. He pretended to be shocked, then admitted he'd been expecting this for weeks, then complained extensively about the parking lot proposal before finally admitting it was actually kind of perfect in its spontaneity. "So when's the wedding?" he asked. Noah and Vivian looked at each other. "We haven't gotten that far," Vivian admitted. "Soon," Noah said. "Not rushed, but not a long engagement either. We've waited long enough." "Spring," Vivian suggested. "April or May, something small and simple." "On the deck," Noah added, "where we met." "Our deck is done. It's beautiful now. You built it." "That's why it should be there. Full circle." Marcus raised his glass. "To the happy couple. May your marriage be longer than your engagement, and your love be stronger than my sister's terrible coffee." "My coffee is not terrible." "Your coffee could strip paint." "You drink it anyway." "Because I love you." "But it's still terrible." They laughed together, the three of them, and Noah felt the pieces of his life clicking into place, not replacing what he'd lost, but building something new alongside it. Emma would always be part of his story, always be Jamie's mother, always hold a place in his heart. But Vivian was his future, and there was room for both truths to exist together. The next few months passed in a blur of wedding planning and life reorganization. Vivian officially launched her education foundation, focusing on bringing adaptive learning technology to underfunded schools. Noah took on a bigger project, a full kitchen renovation that would keep him busy through winter. Jamie started first grade and informed everyone who would listen that his Vivian mom was going to marry his daddy. They decided on May 3rd for the wedding, a Saturday when spring would be fully arrived and the deck garden would be blooming. The guest list stayed small. Immediate family, close friends, Jamie's grandparents, a few of Vivian's business partners who'd become genuine friends. Marcus would officiate, having gotten ordained online specifically for this purpose. Vivian moved most of her things into Noah's house in March, keeping the apartment for her foundation's office. They converted the spare bedroom into a proper office for her while Jamie's room got expanded into what had been Noah's workshop space. Noah built a new workshop in the backyard, a project that took 6 weeks and involved Jamie's help every step of the way. The night before the wedding, Vivian stayed at Marcus's house per tradition, leaving Noah and Jamie alone for one last evening as just the two of them. "Are you excited about tomorrow?" Noah asked as he tucked his son into bed. "Yeah, Vivian Mom is going to live here all the time now, not just mostly time." "That's right. And she's going to be really, truly family." "She already is family, bud. The wedding just makes it official." Jamie was quiet for a moment. "Daddy, is it okay that I love Vivian Mom, even though I had a different mom before?" Noah's heart clenched. It's more than okay. It's beautiful. You have enough love for lots of people, and loving Vivian doesn't take anything away from Mommy Emma. They're different kinds of love, and both are important. I think Mommy Emma would like Vivian, Mom. I think so too. Because Vivian, Mom makes you smile a lot, and she makes good pancakes, and she knows about dinosaurs and business stuff. All very important qualities. Jamie yawned, his eyes already drifting closed. Tomorrow's going to be the best day ever. Yeah, buddy, I think it will be. Noah sat there until Jamie's breathing evened into sleep, then went downstairs to find his mother waiting in the kitchen. Nervous? She asked. Terrified, excited, all of it. That's how you should feel. Patricia poured them both tea. Emma would be happy for you, you know. She'd want this for you and Jamie. I know, I just wish... He stopped. I wish she could have met Vivian. I think they would have liked each other. I think so too. They're more similar than you might realize. Both strong, both brilliant, both stubborn enough to put up with you. Noah smiled. Thanks, Ma. I'm proud of you, honey, for surviving what you survived, for being a good father to Jamie, for opening your heart again when it would have been easier to stay closed. That takes courage. I don't feel courageous. Courage never feels like courage when you're living it. It just feels like doing what needs to be done. The wedding day dawned clear and perfect, spring sunshine warming the May air to exactly the right temperature. Noah woke early, too nervous to sleep, and spent the morning finalizing details with Marcus, while Jamie bounced off the walls with excitement. By 2 o'clock, guests had assembled on and around the rebuilt deck. Flowers bloomed in every corner, the garden Noah had spent months planning with Vivian's input. Simple white chairs formed neat rows. Marcus stood at the front in his officiating robe that he'd insisted on wearing despite it being completely unnecessary. And then Vivian appeared. She wore a simple ivory dress, tea-length and elegant, her dark hair loose around her shoulders. She carried a bouquet of spring flowers and wore the most radiant smile Noah had ever seen. But it was her eyes that undid him, bright with happy tears, locked on his with absolute certainty. She walked down the aisle alone, no one to give her away because she was giving herself freely. Jamie stood beside Noah as ring bearer, taking his job very seriously. Patricia dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. When Vivian reached the front, Noah took her hands, and Marcus began. We're gathered here today because these two people fell in love at exactly the wrong time and exactly the wrong way, and decided to do it anyway. He smiled. When Noah asked me to officiate, he said he wanted something honest. So here's the honest truth. Love doesn't wait for convenient timing or perfect circumstances. It shows up when it shows up, and you either embrace it or spend your life wondering what if. He continued talking about their journey, the deck that brought them together, the conversations that built their foundation, the choice to be vulnerable when it would have been safer to stay guarded. Noah barely heard the words, too focused on Vivian's face, on the way her hands trembled in his, on the absolute rightness of this moment. Noah, do you have vows? Marcus asked. Noah took a breath. Vivian, when I met you, I wasn't looking for love. I was just trying to get through each day, build a good life for my son, survive the hand I'd been dealt. But you changed everything. You reminded me that survival isn't the same as living. You showed me that opening your heart again doesn't diminish what came before. It honors it. I promise to love you honestly, to show up consistently, to be your partner in everything. I promise to build a life with you that's worthy of your brilliance, your strength, and your beautiful heart. And I promise that every day I'll work to be the man you see when you look at me. Vivian was crying openly now. Noah, you gave me something I'd stopped believing existed, a love that's real and honest and sees me for who I actually am. You didn't care about my money or my status or my public image. You cared about me, the woman who cries during movies and demolishes decks and sends terrible puns at 2 a.m. You made me feel safe enough to fall apart and strong enough to rebuild. I promise to love you and Jamie with everything I have. I promise to be present, honest, and brave. And I promise that every single day I'll choose you. Today, tomorrow, always. Marcus had to pause for a moment, clearly fighting his own tears. Rings? Jamie stepped forward with the rings, his job executed perfectly. Noah slipped the wedding band onto Vivian's finger, and she did the same for him. By the power vested in me by the internet and the state of Connecticut, Marcus said, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Noah, kiss your bride before I start crying. Noah pulled Vivian close and kissed her to applause and cheers from their gathered loved ones. When they broke apart, both laughing through tears, Jamie threw his arms around both their legs, completing their family picture. The reception flowed into evening, good food, better conversation, dancing on the deck as the sun set and string lights came on overhead. Noah danced with his new wife, with his mother, with Jamie, who stood on his feet and giggled through an entire song. At one point, he found himself alone with Marcus at the edge of the deck, both watching Vivian teach Jamie some complicated dance move. You did good, Marcus said. We both did. She's happier than I've seen her in years, maybe ever. I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to keep her that way. Just love her. That's all she needs. Marcus paused. And fix things when they break. Build her stuff. You're good at that. I can do that. As the evening deepened and guests began to leave, Noah and Vivian found themselves alone on the deck. The same spot where they'd first connected months ago, where she'd looked at him with tear-stained eyes, and he'd seen past the polished exterior to the woman underneath. Mrs. Carter, Noah said softly. Mr. Carter, Vivian replied, testing out the name. Actually, I think I'm keeping Hale professionally, Carter personally. Is that okay? Whatever makes you happy. You make me happy. She leaned into him. A year ago, I was trapped in a marriage that was killing me slowly. 6 months ago, I was drowning in a bitter divorce. And now I'm married to the man I love, stepmother to an incredible kid, starting a foundation I'm passionate about, and standing on the deck where this all began. Funny how life works. It's not funny, it's miraculous. It's finding light in darkness and hope and grief and love when you've stopped looking for it. Noah kissed her forehead. I love you, Vivian Hale Carter. I love you too. They stood there until the May night turned cool and the last guest departed, until it was just them and Jamie sleeping inside and the rest of their lives stretching ahead. 1 year later, almost to the day, Noah stood in the same spot on the same deck, this time watching Vivian chase a laughing Jamie through the garden while she held their 3-month-old daughter against her shoulder. Charlotte Emma Carter had arrived in February, a surprise that turned their world upside down in the best possible way. Vivian had been terrified of pregnancy at 41, convinced something would go wrong. But Noah had held her hand through every appointment, every moment of anxiety, every joyful milestone. And when Charlotte arrived, healthy and perfect, and already showing signs of her mother's determination, Vivian had cried tears of pure gratitude. Jamie adored his baby sister, treating her with a gentleness that made Noah's heart hurt. He'd started calling Vivian just Mom sometime around her second trimester, the transition so natural that none of them had noticed until Patricia pointed it out. Your family's growing, Marcus observed, appearing beside Noah with beers for both of them. Yeah, it is. You happy? Noah thought about that question, thought about Emma, gone, but never forgotten, thought about the years of grief and survival, thought about the woman who'd stumbled into his life at exactly the wrong time and become exactly the right person, thought about his son who'd gained a mother and sister, about the daughter who would grow up knowing only love and stability. Yeah, he said, I'm happy. And he was. Not the uncomplicated happiness of someone who'd never known loss, but the deeper kind. The happiness earned through surviving the unsurvivable, choosing to love again, building something new while honoring what came before. Vivian caught his eye across the yard and smiled, that same radiant smile she'd worn on their wedding day, on the day Charlotte was born, on 1,000 ordinary mornings when Noah brought her coffee in bed. He smiled back, and in that moment, everything was exactly as it should be. The deck that brought them together held their family now. The foundation they'd built was solid. The future stretched ahead full of possibility. And Noah Carter, who'd once thought his capacity for love had died with his first wife, discovered it had only been waiting for Vivian to walk into his life and remind him that endings could become beginnings, that broken things could be rebuilt, and that sometimes the best love stories were the ones you never saw coming. He crossed the yard to his wife and children, gathering them all close, and felt the complete rightness of everything he'd become. This was his life, his family, his future, and it was more than enough. It was everything.